Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Malvika Shankar, President GC Media Group, and on behalf of Global CIO Forum and Rosetta Net Singapore GS1, I'm delighted to welcome you to the first Asia edition of Future IT Summit Asia 2021. We welcome our community in our participating countries, Singapore, Hong Kong, Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, and India. It's been a pleasure to connect with all of you. At the Global CIO Forum, we not only provide our members with an exchange forum for best IT leadership strategies and practices to enhance business results, but we are also developing a strong voice to ensure that CIOs are represented at key industries and government decision tables. In other words, integrate, influence, and impact. From a humble beginning of one country in 2017 to 3 countries in 2018 to 15 countries in 2019 to 26 countries in 2020, the journey has been incredible. And we have grown tremendously with the support of our global CIO community, industry players and stakeholders, and our roundtable country partners. We would like to thank our event partners for Future IT Summit Asia Edition 2021. C2FO. C2FO is the world's largest marketplace for working capital and works with more than 250 enterprise corporates worldwide. It connects the AP and AR and of over 1 million businesses across 183 countries, transacting in 38 currencies on the C2FO platform, enabling enterprises of all sizes to dynamically manage the working capital needs of their suppliers and customers. C2FO enables suppliers of enterprise clients to have faster and more efficient digital trade financing. C2FO also focuses on bringing in a suite of innovative products. Our next partner is Techniplus. Techniplus technology solution providers in innovation and customer experience. Techniplus is a global IT service provider headquartered in Singapore with delivery centers in Noida and Bangalore in India, and presence in US, Hong Kong, South Africa, and Dubai. Techniplus has strong capabilities in offering services to retail logistics, banking and financials, oil and gas, and manufacturing verticals, and focuses its offerings towards automation, UiPath, and automation anywhere, data analytics, Power BI, and Informatica, and AI, Salesforce, document management, Oracle consulting, and cloud consulting space. We are also supported, and thank you to Sealnet, Global E-Trade Services Gets, Seaburger, Intellisys, and PSA International. At the end of this ceremony, we also bring you the Catalyst Awards, which will be announced at the end. So stay tuned for that. We have an excellent lineup of speakers. We are truly delighted to have this collaboration with Rosetta Net Singapore GS1 Digital Standards. And I welcome my friend Manoj Saxena, who's the chairman of Rosetta Net Singapore GS1 Digital Standards, to come in and give us the opening address and share what is in store next. So over to you, Manoj.
Thank you, Malvika, for the introduction. And hi, welcome everyone for FITS Asia 2021. It's an exciting event, and I'm sure you'll not regret for being part of this whole session. We have a good lineup of prominent speakers, panelists, and to take it up with the award ceremony, right? So I'd like to brief a little bit about Rosternet Singapore, and this event is being jointly organized by Rosternet Singapore GS1 and Global CIO Forums put together. For those who do not know much about Rosternet Singapore GS1, I would like to give a short overview. We are here in business for about more than 20 years. It's a non-profit organization. We work with the government, industry players, and the education institutions to help them on defining the digital standards of the future, right? For example, the likes of your barcode when you go to a retail shop, when you scan your barcode for a product to be built, it's come from this organization. Like logistics track and trace using a RFID reader and a RFID tag, that comes from this organization. And the electronic B2B transactions for whole of your supply chain from order to cash and procure to pay, we are running more than 1.3 trillion in revenue as we speak. When we last counted, it was even higher than a Google search at some point in time, has come from this organization, right? So as the industry evolves, we also try to shadow the industry in terms of how it is shaping itself. And we see it's moving towards the edge technologies, or the whole business model is moving towards the edge, especially in the Industry 4.0 standards of IoT of the world, the blockchains of the world, AIs of the world, right? So what we do as an organization is trying to help the industry when they are innovating on one side, to make sure how the standards are adopted and agreed by cross-borders, agencies, governments, and industry itself, so that you don't have to repeat your process again and again, right? So that's what we do for the last 20 years, and we'll continue to do for the next 20 years. And we have a chapter in every country. So you have an organization which is going to stay and has been staying, and each country has got a GS1 organization. We do have a good MOU with Edifice of Europe, which also deals with different digital standards. And we are very happy to partner with Global CIO Forum, which has got a very good presence in Middle East Africa, with a C-suite about 15,000 and over 26 countries. And we here on the other side are helping in the digital standards, right? It's a clear collaboration which is going to bring synergy with this event as an example. We constantly have done multiple programs in terms of events, in terms of actually doing training, setting up a national pilot project for right from enterprise level high-tech companies all the way to small SMEs and to the last mile providers, right? And I'm more than happy to share that we had about more than 30 supply chain transactions or pilot projects done in Singapore cross borders. Like customs declaration paperless is one of the good examples where you could seamlessly do a custom declaration cross borders in ASEAN using the standards. And we did many center of excellence POCs in our schools, polytechnics, and universities here. And right now, as we speak, we are working with IMDA in helping them engage the industry on a trade trust as a program, which is going to define the blockchain as a trusted service or a standard, right? So that's why we are working, and we did a recent success story with CIO Forum, trying to do a snapshot of global research and a survey done for last 1 year with about 400 C-suites participating, again, across all the 3 geographies. And we have got a very good data of where the pandemic is and how the industry is moving in terms of people, process, technology, and what are the strategies that are being taken by the leaders to move going forward, right? So we are very excited to be part of the program, and it's taken a 360-degree approach, right? Where we try to influence on a technology piece of it, where we have a geography segment, we have the industry segment, where each of us can learn from each other. And we kept everybody in the quadrant here, right from leaders, right from industry, right? Technology vendors, ISV, startups, government, and education institutions. Everybody is going to be part of this beneficiaries here. And we wanted to start some virtual and some and in a face-to-face. We are waiting for the policies and the government vaccinations to be completed in all the countries, where we can actually drive the outcomes, not just having virtual sessions like this, but actually have face-to-face sessions. We already started some in Dubai, and we're waiting for Singapore to open up and some of the neighboring countries to have a better policies on social distancing or having a bigger events. That's where I think we would try to have a more actionable outcomes from the survey which we did and which has come out quite well. And right from white papers, roundtables, webinars, events like this, and there's more to come, right? So I'm very excited about holding that survey as a pivot of all the inputs which has come from you and coming out with good outcomes. And events like this, calling for customer experience and expectations, is a good example of a good starting point, as much as we could do in a virtual environment. So I'm very excited to kickstart this event. On behalf of Rostonet Singapore GS1 and Global CIO Forum, I'd like to thank all the audience, participants, and the sponsors to make this event a success, and wishing all the best for the award winners, which will be announced at the end of the session. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Manoj, and we look forward to further collaboration going forward. Let's start with the first keynote of the day, the topic being taking client insights to the next level. We have our seasoned speaker, Nelly Gilland, who is the Global Head of Customer Experience and Senior Managing Director at Standard Chartered Bank. We are delighted to have Nelly on board and would love to hear what she has to say. Taking client insights to the next level. Over to you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nelly Gilland. I'm the Global Head of Client Experience at Standard Chartered. I'm so excited to join you for this really great event. I hope you learn a lot, not just from what I have to share, but also from what my peers have to share as well. So when you think of client experience, a lot of companies, they immediately jump to NPS. They immediately jump to complaints. But really, it's about building the right experiences for your clients, the memorable experiences. Oftentimes, we do get bogged down with monitoring NPS because it's pretty much the only measurement and metric that's been around for ages and ages. Very antiquated. And I'm sure that we could probably go on and on with a debate or a discussion around why is it so antiquated? Why is it not enough? But essentially, the way that I see it is that it's very rear view mirror facing. And what's most important, especially in today's age, and especially with all of the evolving technology, is to not just only focus on the rear view, but really focus and spend most of your time on the future, the front view. So what do I mean by that? And how are we doing that at StanChart? We created a model of, it's called 5 voices. Kind of sounds like I'm a little schizophrenic going on, but I promise you it's not anything like that. The 5 voices really is around voice of the customer, not something quite new. A voice of the employee, again, not something quite new. Voice of the partner, voice of the benchmark, and voice of the future. So voice of the partner. I really do wholeheartedly believe that the future is all around ecosystems, platforms, partners, and that typical industries such as financial services or other types of very established industries that have been around for ages and ages, even before your parents and my parents and grandparents have been around, those industries will no longer be the superstar or the main character in a movie. Instead, they'll be a supporting actress or actor. And in order to account for that, we need to really understand from an experience perspective, how do we need to adjust? What's going on in trends? What's going on in society? So it's really most important for us to understand what's the voice of the partner. How easy is it to partner with us? How difficult is it to partner with us? The ease around integration, the ease around designing the right experiences. And then voice of the benchmark is really around our competitors. And I don't mean our competitors within the industry, I mean our competitors across industries. Oftentimes, whether or not you realize it as consumers, you're very likely consciously or subconsciously comparing all of your experiences with the best in class experiences that you've ever had, whether that is with Starbucks or SQ or Louis Vuitton, or any of these other luxury types of brands. And so whether or not you recognize understanding these types of experiences, your expectations are much higher. So it's very important for us to understand what is the benchmark? Who should we really be comparing ourselves against across industries? Who's best in class? Why are they best in class? And what can we steal with pride? And then the last piece, probably the most important piece, is the voice of the future. And the voice of the future is really looking at trends that help you to craft out, this is what the world will look like in 20 years. And of course, it's going to change. It's going to become clearer. It might pivot because things such as a market crash or a pandemic may happen. But really, the whole point of trends or the future is looking at various signals all around the world and taking into account which one of those signals are getting stronger and stronger and louder and louder. And those signals that become stronger and louder turn into trends. And those trends are the ones that we need to absolutely look at and monitor and adjust for, because it takes time to start to pivot or start to build for those types of trends and for the future. If you are already building for the future now because you saw a trend yesterday, you might already be too late. So the whole point of this 5 voices model is to take into account various insights, a more comprehensive or holistic type of insights to really understand what happened in the past and what is likely going to happen in the future. And what this does, it helps to lead into ROX, return on experience. What is return on experience? It is essentially taking into account what is most important to your customers, as well as what is most important to your business. What is the least costly to invest in? What is going to return the most in terms of your investment? So taking that into account, it helps you to prioritize what to invest in, what to focus on, and how to pivot quickly. And I'm not just saying that you have to homegrow everything. Instead, it's to help you strategically think through, what are you best at? What are you not too great at? What can you buy, borrow, build? So you could be most impactful, most efficient to both your end customer, and then also to your shareholders and your bottom line. So I hope that this actually helps to frame this entire Future IT Summit in terms of integrating technology to help you understand what are all of the voices of your various stakeholders and customers thinking of, and how that should help you to start to think through, how can I start to frame the future from a technology perspective? How can I incorporate in emerging technologies? And how can I future-proof myself, my business, my colleagues, my companies, and my career? So I hope you have a really great time and you learn a lot. If you have any questions or any comments, feel free to ping me on LinkedIn.
Hi, Millie, that was really awesome. And you just put it right. And the 5-point formula, it's great for all the viewers to learn a little bit more on the customer experience part. And I would like to touch a little bit on all your leadership and various things which SAB speaks, especially Bill, when he speaks about there's so much of technology investments happening at Standard Chartered Bank, but you still don't miss that human touch part. So people like to have that call and, have that advice kind of thing. So kind of hybrid kind of situation for customer experience. Would you like to add a little bit on why you went along that path, and how do you see that as a differentiator for a customer experience, having both technology and a human touch? It would be great to have your views, Millie.
Sure, thank you. So just with the evolution of society, especially because of the pandemic, there's a lot more of a demand for more of a technology or a less of a face-to-face, less of a human touch type of interaction. Make it faster, make it easier, make it self-serve. But at the same time, there's still people who are out there, and there's still scenarios that are out there that requires that human touch. So it's really about finding the right balance for when is the most appropriate types of service delivery. So what we actually do is in hand with technology, as well as the rest of the business, the client experience team, we focus on developing value propositions using human-centered design thinking. So that's essentially putting the customer in the center and then designing around them. Of course, there's more than one customer. So what do we do about that? We do a lot of different types of research methodology to try to understand client insights. And one of the things that we do is take into account the various types of personas or different types of customers. And we design scenarios around each of those customers. And it is most important to me to always have a solutions architect to be on that journey throughout, so that they understand from the business, why are we designing it in this way? Why do we require these certain types of implementations? And what can they not eliminate when they're trying to prioritize things? So that when we come to actually building and executing, then we're preserving that human touch. We're preserving essentially the heart and empathy of the company and for our clients.
Absolutely. I mean, that goes without saying, right? So having a persona with a human touch, and machines are machines, technologies, you still need that human part to make that decisions of at least elite customers and major decisions, right? So great way, great differentiator. Looking forward. Yeah, more of this in your panel and the series to come. Yeah.
This is fantastic, Millie. I think it is very crisp and very well crafted message for the audiences. And before we let you go, would love to ask you that you talked about the ecosystem, you talked about employees and customers and the partners. What do you see as the future of work, especially after this particular situation of pandemic? What is the future of work, and how do you see the role of women in it?
Sure. So future work, it's so easy for me to say work from home. And quite honestly, I do enjoy working from home, but I didn't realize how much until the last few months I missed coming into the office. My entire team, we all didn't realize that. So now we actively come into the office, we spend more time together, just even if we don't have anything to say, we're just physically around each other. And then we actually take the time to have lunch with each other every single week. So it's sort of like coming to the office dressing up when we don't really need to, just to have lunch with each other. It's the whole human interaction. And I really originally thought that I would be perfectly fine not coming into the office at all. But just with technology, it makes everything so much more flexible. And then in terms of women, I have read a lot of reports around the impact of the pandemic and women and their employability. And it's really extremely disappointing to see some of the statistics. So I'm actually a part of the Employee Experience Council within Standard Chartered, and that's headed by Tanuj, our head of HR, and then Michael Goritz, our CIO. And I really take a lot of pride into that, in the sense that I am the employee's advocate because they are my customers. My number one customer is employee. My second important customer is the external client. So I really take a lot of pride being a part of this Employee Experience Council because I get to go and argue on behalf of them. I get to go and preserve their rights and what's just for them, especially now when we're trying to adjust into flexi working and making sure that everything is convenient and flexible. So for example, I actually have this male colleague on my team. He's a new father for the first time. He's a newborn baby. And I told him, I understand that he doesn't have any help at home. It's just him and his wife. And I told him, don't come into the office until your baby is 3 months old, when you can start to sleep train the baby and start to feel a tiny bit more sanity, just a tiny bit more. Of course, that doesn't really happen until probably like 20 years later, or maybe never. But Manoj can probably attest to that more than I can. So told him, don't come into the office. I know that you are going to work hard. I trust you. You're an adult. I don't need to babysit you. And if you need to hold your baby, or if you need to nurse feed your baby while on a call, no judgment whatsoever. And if you have to present to us and your baby is crying in the background, don't feel embarrassed. Don't feel like you have to go tell your baby to shush. I'm a parent. Most of us are parents. We totally understand. He is the most effective, productive, impactful colleague that I have. And that is something that I'm arguing on behalf of my other colleagues to say, culturally, it needs to be okay and acceptable. There's a baby crying in the background. There's a dog barking. I'm holding a baby. I even have another male colleague who is changing diapers in the middle of meetings during circuit breaker. As silly as that sounds, but now this is how we start them young in the workplace. But I think that it doesn't matter which gender we're talking about here. We need to have this type of acceptance that we're all human.
Yes. I love the part that we should not be talking about the gender. It does not make difference. And it's nice to hear about the male colleague doing things with the baby is interesting. And as they say, that employee satisfaction leads to customer satisfaction. So I think that's a really, really important note. So thank you so much for the keynote and for talking to us and our audiences. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
It is wonderful to have the quick Q&A and understand what is happening in different organizations. So it's great to explore with Standard Chartered. Moving on to the next keynote, the topic being enhancing customer experience through digitalization. We have Eddie Ang, who is the VP Group Cargo Solutions and Platform Development, PSA International. We are delighted to have you, Eddie. Over to you.
Hi, everyone. Good day to all. I'm Eddie Ng from PSA Group Cargo Solutions and Platform Development Team. I'm glad to be part of the Future IT Summit 2021 for Asia. And today, I'm going to share with you on enhancing customer experience through digitalization. First of all, I would like to give you a brief introduction to PSA. I'm sure most of you know that PSA is a global port or container terminal operator. We have actually gone beyond the port since a few years ago. Today, PSA network encompasses over 50 locations in 26 countries around the world, covering not just marine terminals, but also rail and inland terminals, as well as district parks, warehouses, and marine services. Our two key flagship terminals are in Singapore and Antwerp. Together with our subsidiaries, Crimson Logic and Global E-Trade Services, or GETS, PSA also offers digital trade solutions and is co-developing the Callisto platform to bring together key physical, compliance, and financial activities of cargo logistics on a digital ecosystem. In PSA, we have three key groups of customers. The shipping lines, they are the traditional customers for port operators. LSP, or logistics service provider, that includes truckers, rail operators, and freight forwarders. Shippers or cargo owner, or they are also known as the end consumer or end customer. Each customer segment has varying pain points and needs, and the recent pandemic has further accelerated the need for digitalization. In general, all our customers have high expectation. They want seamless end-to-end process, whether it's digital or physical. Most, if not all of us, would have some experience with some existing e-commerce platforms and have come to expect an end-to-end seamless process from browsing, buying to shipping and tracking. Paperless transactions. Customers want paperless transaction without the hassle of filing documents and producing receipts. This is also good in the name of sustainability, which is a key theme for consumer these days. However, in reality, this can be different. Customer may be able to digitize all the required documents, but for certain countries or locations, the local customs will still require hard copies of documents or even wet signature or stamp. Full visibility of vessels, orders, shipments, containers, and inventory across different modes of transport, be it sea, air, or land. Once customers have ordered or purchased an item, they will want to know when it will arrive, whether it has been shipped, and whether there are any delays. If there's any delay, what's the recovering plan, and so on and so forth. In addition to high service standards, we have also come to expect insights. Is this a cheap product? Is this a good buy or recommendation? What's the fastest or cheapest or even the greenest way that the customers can get the goods to? Today, end customers are increasingly demanding due to exposure of B2B transactions. They expect the same ease of transaction and services in the B2B world. However, digitalization in the B2B world is a lot different from B2C. For example, ride-hailing services like Grab or Uber just require users to provide about 6 to 10 pieces of data for the transaction to be completed successfully. It's getting more and more complicated as we move to supply chain, which may have many touch points covering up to 25 different parties for international shipments and involve as many as 30 to 40 documents. The challenges here are multi-party involvement and requires data sharing across many disparate systems. Technology today is readily available to solve some of these pain points, but the main hurdles remain due to different maturities of technology adoption and mindsets. In order to address and help our end customer on some of these pain points and orchestrates across the different players, we have launched Psa Cargo Solutions a few years ago. This comprised of complementary port solution, where we offer distinctive port-centric cargo solution to benefit cargo owners and service provider, thereby enabling them to better manage their cargo flow for greater efficiency, agility, and resilience. This is also supported by a digital platform known as Callista, which is an open supply chain digital platform that helps shippers better manage the physical movement of goods, trade financing, and compliance. PSA view is that the future will be a logistics ecosystem of connected and interoperable nodes for physical, regulatory, and financing to enable cargo and trade flow visibility, expedition, and evolution. And as our group CEO termed this as Internet of Logistics, or IOL. To this end, PSA continues to engage and work with various partners and networks in order to enable the seamless experience expected by the end customers, as connectivity and collaborations are key to successful and seamless logistics ecosystems. As Steve Jobs once said, you got to start with the customer experience and work backwards to the technology, and not the other way around. In our space, we need to get closer to the end customers, understand their pain point and processes, and then design a system or solution to meet it such that there's a fit. Proper process is a precursor towards digitalization. In the next segment, I would like to share with you some of the basic principles that we need to consider as we design and develop digital solutions and platforms. In general, customers expect good experience, and they can be categorized in 4 key areas, namely, they want it to be intuitive, that is easy to use, multi-channel, personalized. They also expect it to be interoperable, meaning that seamless interfaces of data, technology, agnostic, as well as the global standards are being used. In addition to that, they also expect it to be impregnable, meaning a safe and secure workplace, proper data governance, and the data are being encrypted. And lastly, intelligent insights, advisories that will create values for the customers. Intuitive. Customers expect a seamless and simple end-to-end experience, whether online or offline. The customer journey starts from the moment they step into the store or log into the e-marketplace or platform, and ends when they check out or complete the online transaction successfully and receive. A good user interface or customer experience design is the basic foundation to customer experience. as first impression counts. In addition, well-designed navigation will also encourage customers to self-house certain tasks easily. Hence, understanding customer processes and needs with ability to easily customize, configure, and personalize are all critical factors to an enhanced customer experience. Today, we can also easily create customer persona through capturing the detailed data on individual customers' clicks and preferences and analyzing their behavior in order to serve customer needs better and identify opportunities to create targeted messages to upsell or cross-sell certain products or functions. Increasingly, customers also expect instant help as and when they have a problem. Hence, they expect some form of conversational AI with online chatbots, virtual assistant, or avatars that will not only understand their inquiries, but also able to understand the local language or even the local jargons. As mobile devices are widely available these days, we can further augment customer experiences through AR or wearables such as Google Glass. For example, in a logistics warehouse setup, the operators or managers can just flip their iPad to visualize what's going on in the warehouse. Example, when's the pickup time for the various boxes or the inventory count at the warehouse. The future of customer experiences is already here. If we are to look around at other industries, we will see technology implemented at various stages in each industry. Next, customers also expect digital solutions to be available across different platforms, mobile devices, or technologies. For example, in auto roaming, the phone will automatically switch to different providers and work with whether it's a 3G, 4G, or 5G data network, and data can be seamlessly shared across. Customers do not care what tech is being used behind the scene, but the technology needs to be able to talk to each other. Of course, only platform use a standard or common language will allow for easy integration and sharing. Otherwise, the experience can be like extracting a bad tooth. In PSA, our view is that there's no one single platform that can dominate the industry, and hence the approach is to embrace global standards like Digital Container Shipping Association or DCSA, so that customers can easily navigate across different platforms, different technologies seamlessly via APIs. In addition, customers also expect the same interaction through omni-channel engagement. That is, whatever tech we use to build the interaction with customers, it will need to be moved from monolithic to microservices that are modular and agile in design. With the rise of digitalization, there has been a rise in cybersecurity related incidents. According to recent survey by World Economic Forum, Global Risk Report 2021, cybersecurity and IT-related risks rank highly on the list. Increasingly, customers are very concerned of the data privacy issues, as well as the danger of ransom attacks that have affected many operations at shipping lines and LSP for weeks in the last couple of years. Customers need the assurance that they will be working with or transacting in a safe and secure platform and have full control of what they want to share and who they would like to share with. Proper data governance setup is necessary for transparency and audit purpose so that the customer can trust the platform. In PSA, we have an in-house developed framework as well, known as OPUS, that is looking at ownership, passage, usage, and storage of customer data as part of our governance process. In addition, the use of blockchain and encryption will become basic necessities in the future for ensuring data at rest, in transit, and in operation are protected from any malicious intent. Up and coming generation customers are also more demanding. They want to know the how, the why, and actually see the value of using the product or platform. They want to know how many times are the items ordered shipped on time, from where, and what is the carbon footprint of that movement. How my order is being routed in real time, and is it being shipped by the most optimal routes considering the transit time, mode of transportation, cost, and carbon emissions. They also want to know exactly how a shoe is made with recycled plastic fiber, and they also want to make sure that we are creating sustainable process on overall basis. How can I be sure that the food or pharma products are also from trusted sources, authenticated and traceable? How can I proactively readjust my inventory in view of supply chain disruption to meet the demand due to predicted delays like port congestion or typhoon or strikes? The emergence of technologies like AI or machine learning has made it possible to gather and process large amounts of data, and for digital solution to use such information to create solution or experiences that the customers are looking for. Explanatory or responsible AI will also increase the comfort level for customers to adopt AI. We are also seeing more deployment of RPA, robotics, not just in manufacturing, but also in applications such as robo-advisor for customers who want advice on how to invest money, how to comply with regulation in shipping goods from Singapore to Peru, or whether to speed up or slow down in order to optimize the bunker usage to reach the next port of call. With intelligent recommendation and visualization, customers will be able to rely on data-driven analytics and predictive prescriptive insights to assist them in a better decision making. Today, customers are really spoiled for choices on what products to buy, which marketplaces to patronize, or even which platform or SaaS solutions to use. There's no one perfect solution, but the tendency is for customers to pick up the one that gives them the best experience through intuitive design, data interoperability, trusted and impregnable sites, as well as providing them intelligence, values, and insight. An integrated and frictionless customer experience is the only way for digital solution providers to differentiate or stand out among the competition in the years to come. I would like to end my presentation with a quote. In a world where product and services are becoming more and more commoditized, customer experience is the only true differentiator in the future. Thank you, and I look forward to personally meet and interact with some of you in the near future.
We are delighted to have our first panel discussion, supply chain and e-commerce cross borders. It's my pleasure to invite Manoj Saxena, who would be the moderator, Chairman, Rosetta Net Singapore GS1, Jamil Khan, EVP Logistics, Lazada. We have Ng Chi Kwang CK, Vice President, Gets. From Malaysia, we have Dato Sri Syed Zainal Abidin Syed Muhammad Tahir, Group Managing Director, DNX. Vinay Avasthi, Worldwide Head of Print Supply Chain, HP. Over to you, Manoj.
Hi, welcome everyone for the CX Supply Chain, E-commerce and Cross-Border panel. I'm excited to have our panelists who are coming from all the way from a product background, from cross-border backgrounds and e-commerce background. Lazada, we have DNX, we have Crimson Logic, Gets, and also Hewlett Packard, right? So all the esteemed panelists are with us. They bring tons and years of experience along with them, and hope this is going to be a very exciting panel for us to uncover what customer service is all about, right? So customer service has been evolving, as we know. At one side is like you're asking for a customer experience to be enhanced, and then the other side is the expectation is kind of going in a different direction, especially with pandemic and especially with e-commerce coming in, and with Amazon effect, with Lazada effect. I would say that same day delivery, 30 minutes delivery, 2 hours delivery, right? So the expectations for the customers are increasing enormously on one side. And we also have the technology influence happening where people are like online, abrasive, and getting the chatbots and getting the customer's voice heard instantly, and they have a say to say at that point in time. So things are changing drastically from a customer experience to an expectation standpoint. And I'm very excited to start with the panelist, with Datushri first, on how at DNX, since you have taken up your leadership role, how do you listen to the customers and get their trends so that you can have your strategies defined in the background, right? So what's your listening pattern, to your customers?
Hey, thank you very much, Manoj, and hello to everyone, panel. Definitely good to be at the FITS Asia 2021. Obviously, we wish it could be more physical, but nevertheless, this is the new norm. Now, I mean, very interesting question, Manoj, about customer experience. One thing this COVID-19 has taught everybody, I think there's no exception, is how to adapt very quickly on this very challenging environment. So in Malaysia, I think to be honest, I think the company struggled a little bit. In the early days of where the COVID-19 kicks in, where movements have been restricted, people start working from home. People are not used to this non-traditional what you and me are doing today on the virtual. I mean, some people struggle. People still like to have this teh tarik, have a cup of coffee, and a face-to-face and see the body language. And people That's traditional. So I think companies, need to adapt very quickly. So when I came in, one of the things that I am a strong advocate is always about listening to the customer. Since we are constrained by going, so I think we need to then start using this new norm as part of our main street. So we reinvent ourselves, spend a lot of time, listening to the customer, and sharing as much as they are having problem, sharing part of what are the transformation that we are doing. So I think one of the things that customers appreciate is for partners to be very open about the plans and going forward. That's number one. Number two, it's also about sharing information. Just like CK and Christian Logic, we also, as a trade facilitator platform, we have a lot of information, that we've gathered over many years. But somehow, over the past, we have not been sharing this information enough. So what I did, when I interact with them, is to share the trends that's happening in the global market, and particularly in Malaysia with this COVID, and to also share and give my view of the trend that they are experiencing as a company. And to my surprise, some of the CEOs, are very surprised as the data that we're able to share to them. So that goes to the next point, which means there's a lot of data out there that I think we need to then package it, make it easy to understand for the customer. I mean, that's what this data analytics is all about. So the traditional way of talking, I think, still remain relevant, but now we need to infuse some sharing of information and data. And then they will then be able to see, relate what's happening to the business and what's the environment is. I think the third is how to empower them, because we cannot be doing this, day in and day out. I mean, we need to talk about strategy too. So one of the ways I think we should be doing, and what we are doing in DNEX, is to empower them by giving them what we call the dashboard. Each customer will have a different needs and demands, based on the business. So we have an off-shelf dashboard that we talk about. These are the parameters that they can use, but there are customized dashboard that we can do based on your requirement. And what we then realize, once they see the dashboard, they become hungry for more data. So the requests keep on coming in. I want this, I want that. But as partners, I'm sure all the members are always, experiencing the same thing. People will ask the moon and the sky, Manoj. But I think us as the partners, we need to be able to guide them, to give the message that's only useful for them. They can make, they can make them, allow them to make the right business decision. So a lot of our team is really understand the pain point and, creating a dashboard that will help them to, to empower them to make the decision. Because today, as you know, because the world is moving so rapidly, the environment is changing, so quickly, data availability of data becomes very important. As you know, we are now going to what we call a stage of data economy. So we want to share that data with them. And I believe going forward, this is going to be a new thing. And the feedback that we've got so far, I think, is very encouraging. They like what we are doing. They like our approach. But still, having said that, Manoj, nothing beats a face-to-face interaction, eyeball to eyeball, having a cup of coffee and really understand the people. So I wouldn't want to eliminate that, that face-to-face transaction. But so, we are where we are today, it's a new norm, so we need to adapt quickly and use digital as, I'm sure my colleague will share later on, digital as a norm, as a way to do our business. And data, I think, will have a very important role to play. So that's how we believe, is the way we're going to interact with customer. And I have a simple rule. I'm a marketing guy. I have a very simple rule. Rule number one, the customer is always right. Rule number two, the customer is wrong. Refer to rule number one. So the customer is always right, whatever you say. No matter what you say, the customer is king. So our job is to open our ears and listen to them and trying to understand and address the pain point. And that's what, conversation is all about. As you said, seek first to understand before you be understood. So you need to understand what your customer's pain point is. When we do that, I'm sure the customer will walk away happy. So that's my comment.
I like that. We will have a lot of votes from our audience by having heard this, right? So I love that. Data-driven, human touch. I can't agree with you more on that. So moving on from a B2G to a B2C online Lazada, where everybody's pattern has changed to online through pandemic. I would like to move on to Jamil, who's the head of Lazada. for Asia Pac based out of Singapore. Zamil, how do you see the trends? How do you listen to your customers, and how do you keep up with things? Yeah, all to you, Zamil.
Yeah, I guess Manoj, firstly, thank you for having me on the show, and thanks to introducing me to such wonderful panelists as well. For us, it's if I put this into context, we're actually operating in 6 different countries, and pandemic obviously put us all in different challenges at different times. Some countries still challenging now, some have been moved on, and then our parent company, Alibaba, was living through this prior to obviously what happened with us, and so there's some learnings we could take from there. So I think the evolution for us was firstly being a platform. I think our sort of work changed 100% overnight. Literally, it was customer habits and trends changed to completely, what we never planned for. Our business wasn't geared up to actually do this. So I think one thing we struggled with initially was actually being versatile enough to actually react to that demand coming in. So it took us a bit of time to get there. But now going back to more about customer centricity and how do we manage, customer information and data, I would break this into sort of 3 key buckets. One for us is data science, how our platform actually operates. We have over 100 million products that we offer pretty much in every facility that we work out of. So these are the 6 entities that we're in. So making sure we can actually tell and give customers and sellers as well very clear, that woods from the tree kind of scenario. This is the stuff you have to focus on. This is why it's important. Help them through, understanding price points, as well as how they need to start looking at their products in terms of listing and making more prominent within the platform itself. So that's number one. So having data science behind that to help you create that visibility kind of links to the earlier discussion around the dashboard. Then the second bit around, once you've done your operation, how do you actually help understand from a execution point of view what the customer felt? And customer for us then falls into 2 buckets. One is the actual seller who actually helps bring products to your platform. The other one is actually the end user who actually bought it from you. And 2 have very different expectations. The seller wants obviously his product to be on the top of the list. He wants it to sell well. He wants then, as they pack products, for the 3PLs who actually operate to pick up those parcels to be with them in a timely fashion, because they tie up the entire operation around that thing to work pretty much in a timely fashion. And then on the other side, you've got the customer who's actually ordering. He wants product, he wants quality, he wants pricing, he wants a timely delivery. Now you're using that sort of information that comes through, like we do a survey every month that looks at the last 2 weeks worth of effort that we put in. And based on that, we get information. Now, just to put it into context, for each month, we get probably about 20% of our ratio of orders to customer feedback. Not everything is related to actually the product that you delivered, but it's related to everything else. Maybe about 10% is to do with the actual delivery. Now you have to go through that and work out what is relevant, what is linked to the actual delivery experience. And then you work on that to improve it. So now, again, it goes back to clever stuff has to be done. You have to go a bit more detail. You have to understand the customer feedback and try to understand where they're coming from. And then you put solutions with that in mind, to improving it. Then lastly, you have the CAMs. These are the key account managers. These people will then work very closely with sellers and help them create their portfolio. Again, e-commerce is still a pretty young industry in the region we're in. Now, educating the small sellers to understand how to interact with platform. And also then we actually make it available for a buyer and a seller to have a direct conversation, again, linking to what Dato was saying, that yes, we're in a very different world where that connection isn't there. When you put it into our context, even worse, we have close to 50,000 sellers, a couple of 100,000 buyers. They can't obviously talk. So what we do is we have a chat channel within the app going on where you can directly talk to your seller, who can advise you, hey, the product that you ordered is not available. It'll take me another week to order from my seller. Are you okay to wait? Or can I give you a different color, or whatever proposition they can actually offer you? So creating that relationship was key. And then the CAMs obviously work alongside that to make sure that the seller has all the tools within his armory to make sure he's successful. So I think when you look at it, those are sort of 3 buckets that we in Lazada would work with to actually make sure both the sellers and the buyers are successful in what they're trying to do. and our platform at the same time actually enables our business to grow in a mutual way.
Absolutely. So it's easier said than done. Quite a complex operation, like you mentioned, data science. And I was quite surprised to hear about the account manager part on the human touch part, which again ties back to what Datul said, right? So interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll come back to you on the second round for sure. And let's move on to CK, based out of Singapore, Crimson Logic gets, right? So what are you doing, CK, from your side to listen to the customers and hear the voice?
I think we leverage very much is really on technology side. Firstly, we really hear from what the customers getting in touch with us. So technology like live chat, social media live chat become very important. We use WhatsApp, we use WeChat that, we can actually close the distance of getting customers to come and feedback to us and talk to us. It also involved with the audio portion so that it can help, really to hear from what is the customers that their requirement is. I think a few points that, earlier on the two panelists has also talked about. Data is very important. We do a lot of data analytics. We provide also dashboard, but the dashboard that we provide itself is for the customers itself to really understand what is their current trade environment is about. They want to make a decision, or if there is any things that's happened, how do they use this data itself to understand, to make changes? And when they understand and they want to make changes, the next thing is, who do I contact? Do I write an email to someone, which is you're going to wait for another days or maybe 48 hours before someone respond to you? If I can reach out to someone almost instantly and say, hey, I need these changes, can you get it done? So that's something that we have embarked on, and we make changes itself. We beef up really a lot in terms of our leveraging on technologies, products like Zoom, products like Team, even our own CRM system itself. We do an upgrade. We get our customer service itself able to look at, respond, how soon, how fast we can respond to customers. And that actually help in terms of improving a lot of customer experience. Every year we do our own survey to understand from our customers to say, hey, how are we performing? Did our guys do a good job? If you have a request, did we attend to it? Or how fast did we attend to it? We're even able to track in terms of when you click for an application. So how long, how fast, how quick, the timing. Even we do webinar. We track the attendance, how long each topic is how people log on and at what time people log off. So you will understand. Yeah, then you have, with that information, you're able to capture, the usage, the pattern, the way people are interested. Like sometimes when you're doing a deal, good example, I think Jamel has shared earlier on, the user pattern. You understand how these people use it, and at the right time, you roll out the right product, the right solution. For us, it's more the right transaction has to be done because people are very concerned. Like, for example, this month they have a 4-4. This 4-4 itself, you click on it and suddenly your system doesn't work and transaction doesn't go through, payment doesn't go through, or credit card doesn't go through. These are issues. So they want instant response because they see the price there now and I wanted to buy it now. And that is where, our customer experience will come into the picture itself and tell people, say, hey, we're here to support you, work on it. I mean, Dato also mentioned, right? People like to be physically involved. You like the cup of tea, to sit along face to face. I see your eyeball. We, at this situation is how we wanted, but may not be able to do it. So we change our way. We do e-coffee. I hold my cup and I say, hi, thank you.
There you go. I'm with you. Yeah.
So those actually give us a really inside view of, the customers. Sometimes customer will complain to you about, hey, you're too e-enabled. Is there something that, more human? But at the moment itself, we leverage on the norm, whatever that, is happening now. We try to be as much as, the human e-way. Yeah.
Okay.
To get in touch with people, to talk to people. Yeah.
Right.
So these are things that we are doing and we see great improvement.
Yeah. So that helps actually. So a little bit of the micro level managing the data patterns and then the e-meets and the e-ticks and e-coffees, e-meeties. Yep. Good. Right. So let's go with that. And let me touch a little bit on the product side of Hewlett Packard, right? So Hewlett Packard has been very close to my heart when I have shared with you offline also. I've been with Compaq and Hewlett Packard for over 10 years, and the last mile delivery as a CIO for Ingram Micro, right? I've touched both parts. So how do you see as HP listening to customers and trying to make a difference there? Vinay.
Manoj, first and foremost, glad to be here. It's delighted to be part of this esteemed panel. And you are probably more familiar with this, but for those who are not, I will just very quickly lay out what HP does, right? I'm part of HP Inc. We make a variety of hardware products, personal systems, printers in all their complexity, and services, and offer that to a variety of customers. Our customers range from the corporate to the mid-market to the individual retail customers, right? So for us, a customer experience is always going to be a hybrid customer experience because of the diversity that we have. And also today's times are such that any one method is always going to be wanting in truly giving a customer a good experience. So let me just break this down a little bit. From a corporate customer perspective, obviously for us, a direct sales touch, whether that happens face-to-face or whether it happens through calls or conference calls or Zoom or whatever, that direct sales touch is absolutely critical. And we define that with a coverage model that is obviously different across different geographies of the world. And at the same time, we supplement that with various digital platforms so that the customer also gets consistent information from us while they are also getting access to HP via direct salesperson, right? If you look at the mid-market and retail side of things, right, you would probably see that HP does 85 to 90% of our business via channel partners. So these are the distributors like Ingram Micro, where you were part of that. Sub-distributors, value-added resellers, corporate resellers. We have a lot of channel partners who do business for us. And for us, having a communication platform through them is extremely important. And we do that via partner business managers, PBMs, and also multiple partner forums where we speak to these channel partners depending on geography, depending on their specific aspect of the market that they serve, and have communication and customer experience through them. Over a period of time, we have also tried to do that, supplemented with a lot of digital technology so that they have that support from us as well, right? And on the retail side of things are moving a lot more towards omni-channel, right? It is no longer a online only play, or no longer a retail only play. A good example of that would be 500 plus HP World stores that we have in India, and we also have the HP Online operations, right? So how do you supplement each other so that a customer can have an experience online and go pick up a product of their liking in a physical store, or can walk into a physical store and find that they want something else and order a lot of stuff from HP Online as well, right? So that is where this omni-channel thing is very critical to give customers those consistent experiences. But through all of this, right, whether it is a direct touch, whether it is through a channel partner, or whether it is online, or whether it's in a retail store, I think the important thing for us to remember in a customer experience is that it absolutely has to be consistent as far as possible, in terms of experience, in terms of pricing, in terms of specifications, etc. It has to be fact-based because, customers always want to have that fact-based information, but ultimately it has to be, with humility, with honesty, and with a lot of truthfulness, right? These days, even though information is available far more than what it was, it is also very difficult for customers to kind of make sense of it because there is so much of information and data that is available. For our job to give a good customer experience ultimately is to have that HP brand that talks to them about consistency, humility, truthfulness, fact-based, and more concern for the customers than any other part of what it means to us from a business point of view. So I think that to me is the essence of what customer experience we can provide.
No, absolutely. I can't agree with you more because you're into a B2B to C model. You kept it that way for long, for a good healthy part even now. I remember that for Ingram, we used to invite you for partner days, and I used to be invited for Hewlett Packard on the go-to-market strategies, recalls. And you said it well on the online versus offline brick and mortar things where people click and then collect it at the store, right? They didn't want to spend time, look for the product, just collect it there. And I remember my printer, when the cartridge is going off, it will say it's going off. Can I order directly? It tells me at the push of a button. So funny, right? So very interesting stuff. And so you're getting into the last mile and yet not disrupting your channel. That's interesting part. Good. So that helps, Nai. Thank you so much. And let me move on to from the feedback of listening to a customer to what are the strategies, what are the plans, and what are the different actions you're taking within your organization, right? To have a delightful customer experience. I want to move into a second phase of the question. I'd like to start off with you, CK, first, Singapore this time. You get a chance to be the first to share, like, how is anything on the platform, technology, products and service, how are you keeping your customer delighted? Right, CK.
Thanks, Manoj. Basically, how we do it is really very much, we are a technology company. So we focus very much in terms of technology itself. And data, it becomes very important to mainly all our customers itself. We hold a lot of data. So what we have done is we actually create really good dashboard. The dashboard sometimes itself is helpful. It could be also not really helpful to people. The helpful dashboard that we would embark on is really to share with people on their health status in terms of their performance or transaction itself. And they will know, like, for example, if a transaction is done, how long does it take to complete, or how long does it take to deliver? And how's the performance between, you book between an LSP to another LSP? What's the response time? And with all these analytics information itself, it actually allows our customers itself to have better understanding how their business, especially during this pandemic timeframe, where a lot of people are looking at, it's not about cost saving. It's about how do I reach out to more customers? How do I make things work when people are not stepping out of the house? So data become very important for us to really study, and we need to present a dashboard that really suit what the customer need. I think earlier on, Dato also share, if you give people, a nice view of the data, they will come back, ask for more. And that is what happened now also. We are getting more and more requests. People are saying that, can you break down into this, because, we are happy with that. Because these show that people are very keen in terms of getting the data, and they want to make decision with all this data on how they want to grow their business. And we are able to help them because we hold all the data itself. We're able to share with you the dashboard that you require, and from there we work. Definitely the next step that we want to do is really to have really real-time engagement with them. They can actually, build their own dashboard on the fly, and they can see all these things. These are things that, we're planning to do. And on top of that, we are also building up our new next generation Callista, which is the product, we are enhancing in terms of the UI and the UX itself. So very much is on the UI. We got a lot of feedback from our customers. We're a good feedback channel. So they told us, say that, I need to have this, I need to have that. And we give them, say that, hey, I want to make it easy. Before that, maybe 3 clicks to complete the process. Now is 1 click. Like earlier on, Binet's also said, right? If your cartridge run out, the system automatically prompt you, say that, hey, press this button to buy new cartridge.
Correct.
Yeah. Right. We like to have that also. If, for example, if your transaction is done and you say that, hey, you need more transaction, I can be able to tell him, say, I need more transaction. Why don't you click and do more transaction? Yeah.
Got it.
That's something that we really want to put up. And the analytics tool is really something that we focus on to build a pretty, a very fanciful kind of dashboard. Today, I may not be able to tell you, say, how fancy is it, but definitely in the next couple of maybe less than 3 to 4 months time, we should be able to share more.
Great. So we'll wait for that, the next series maybe. Yeah, we'll invite CK. Yeah, got it. So that's a good summing of what the delightful customer experience is, CK. I'd like to move to Dato Shri yourself, and I've been interacting with your team quite closely, Dato Shri, for last 1 year being in the consortium. I know a lot of efforts are being put under your leadership on expanding your products and services. You may want to put some light on how are you trying to get your customers delighted to the next phase, right? That'll be interesting to hear from you.
I think first, let's maybe 2 things, Manoj. Number one, is and how to help them with their current issues. Like I said, as COVID-19 now settled in, people tend to realize that it now exists different pain points in the company. So our job as partners is trying to resolve the pain point as much as possible. And the only way to do that, as I said, we're now sending team, working closely with them to understand the issues and to come up quick improvements for the solution that we have today. So we have now adopted what we call an agile work environment, where solution and release can be done in much more faster sprints compared to before, because time is of the essence. And one of the things that I realized, the pain point our customers today are doing, they want to be more efficient and they want to reduce the cost of doing business. That's where the space where DNX want to position ourselves. So we need to then find, creative ideas and how to lower the cost of doing business with them, looking at both the traditional and non-traditional way, and also to digitize and automate some of the process that used to be manual, so that then they can reduce their fire, be more efficient. So that's one part of just the core thing. I mean, the current services that we're doing, they just have to be more efficient. The second part, as CK had said, and people now are hungry for new technology. One of the things that we are, investing heavily, apart from data analytics, is to what we call include AI, artificial intelligence features into our system. And for example, we have a product today, because today, Manoj, upskilling and reskilling becomes almost a demand for everybody. But you cannot go to have a big conference call anymore, or conference room, or training. Everything has been virtual. So the one thing about the virtual training is sometimes you don't know whether the students are sleepy, whether they are attentive or not. So we have an AI in our system called Claire. When you actually do training, we can see the facial expression,
right,
of whoever's online. So whether you are attentive, inattentive, whether you are skipping, you are cheating, these are the things that we're able to react. And we've done this with 2 ministries, and they like it very much.
Wow.
Of course, obviously the student doesn't like it, but the bosses like it.
I like.
So when we put this kind of technology, it gives a different dimension of the traditional training that we used to have. So we want to use AI to drive and enhance what we call, the customer experience, what you had mentioned. Second, we also trying to build a pillar in terms of blockchain, about traceability. If you probably have read the papers over the last couple of months in Malaysia, there was this issue about the halal meat traceability. And there was a lot of contention in the market, whether it is halal, not halal. So we have worked with the government. We're going to introduce what we call a blockchain encrypted, what we call QR code, and the ability to trace end to end from the abattoir all the way up to the consumer. So people can know and use, have confidence in blockchain to make sure that their product, once it's halal, is real halal, for an example. So these are the 2 pillars, Manu, that we believe, in Daganet and DNX, that we want to build our future, is to use AI as a tool to provide that kind of customer experience, whether you are a trade facilitator or whether you are just a user of trading modules. And even CK was saying, chatbots, chatbot becomes a norm today. So you don't have to have someone calling and running the phone anymore, because everything can be done online. The second technology, obviously, is blockchain. We want to make sure that gives customers and our ecosystem confidence about all this, leakages, privileges. But one of the things that I fear the most, Manoj, as we go into the space of technology, internally, there is this issue about retaining the right talent in the organization. Number one.
Yes.
Number 2, from a customer point of view, we also worry that technology will empower them to do even more, what we call more deep analysis with the business. 2 things can happen: either their services can grow and they see us as a partner, or they also see the inefficiency in the past that we'll probably have seen.
I like that.
So sometimes it could be a double-edged sword. But I believe. We are not. We want to position DNX. We don't want to sell products. I think we want to run away from selling product, over the software. We want to be a real business partner. And what is suitable and what is value to the customer, we want to subscribe and want to provide end to end. So, my approach, in what we call incorporating technology, number one is what we have today, digitizing and automating it so that we remove the human intervention, minimize human error. Going forward, we want to make sure that we drive through data analytics, AI, and also using blockchain as part of our delivery to our customer. And by doing that, I think the position or the image of DNX will be a little bit different in the next couple of years. And our motto today, Manoj, we want to be trade facilitation partner of choice, which means you want to reduce your cost of doing business and you want to make your business to be more efficient. So that's our positioning. And as CK and I think Vinay and Jamil has said, there's no other way. Technology is the only way to get by. So for technology, whether you own it or you work with your partner, I think we cannot own all the technology within ourselves. Some we're going to create our own proprietary technology and solution. Others, I think I advocate the area of collaboration. I'm also learning from CK on our board, our friends in Singapore, what you guys are doing, So because this is, we're not here to reinvent any wheel. I think the fast to market is very important. Make less mistakes and learn from mistakes of others. That's something that I advocate.
Very good. No, that you summed it up quite well, Datuk, actually. And co-partner, co-innovation is the way to go. And seamless onboarding for customer experiences. And I like the way of saying not being just traditional on your export and import kind of a cross-border company, going all the way to a track and trace using blockchain. And that's the way I think you're expanding your services for the customers to be a one-stop shop, right? Similar to what even CK has mentioned earlier on in Celesta platform, right? Interesting stuff. You're going beyond your traditional business. That's good to know to keep your delightful customers. Moving on to Hewlett Packard, Vinay, yourself, a lot on 3D printing and all that, closer to your exact domain and all that. Anything you'd like to try, throw light on how you like to have a delightful customer for HP?
Well, we are a technology company, right? We have been, in the business of engineering good experiences for customers. And whether it is from the first oscillator platform that our founding fathers made in the late 30s to a futuristic technology like 3D, right? I think my personal take on this one is that technology will continue to evolve. There will be technologies that will come in, mature, sunset, and new ones will come up, right? So I think innovation is obviously going to be very critical. However, I think from a customer centricity point of view, you have to keep the customer as the North Star. There have been so many brands, so many companies who have not survived the transitions that have happened in technology, not just in terms of what technology does for the people, but also in terms of how technology actually is used to sell, right? And yet, we are fortunate that we continue to, evolve with the times. But I do think that is because we do believe that ultimately that relationship with customer is super critical. From the moment of consideration to a selection based on a customized personalization as to what the customer wants, towards all the way up to post-sales support. No matter where you buy our product, Manoj, right? You might buy it from Lazada, you might buy it from Amazon, you might buy it from a retail store. We do know that ultimately, if it works for you, it is very humbling and very, good for us. But if it doesn't work for you, we are the ones who own that solution for you, right? So if tomorrow, as you were mentioning, if a cartridge is not delivered to you on time, or if it is not functioning, it is our relationship with you that matters. And that's why eventually throughout your life, you will probably, own, multiple HP products, and will be happy as a customer to do that, no matter where you buy it, which part of the country, which part of the globe you might buy it, and no matter where you buy it from. So to us, that customer centricity and that relationship with the customer, is extremely important. And, like any good relationship, I think it's based on honesty, it's based on caring, it's based on continuous engagement, and also to a large extent, personalizing it for you. So I think that is what drives us every day. And hopefully, as we have continued to bring in more and more new technologies in computing, printing, etc., right, we'll continue to do so for the times to come.
Yeah, and that you summed it up quite well, Vinay, because you're having too many handshakes. You want to make sure that seamless customer experience goes on, and then you make sure you have a delightful customer until the last mile of where it is delivered and having a relationship. You own it, but still there's channel
It's
partners.
through the lifetime. You buy it, in a couple of weeks after all consideration, but ultimately your product experience is there for the entire life. That's why we call it install base, right? We don't call it like a one-time sale or a transaction. For us, that relationship is extremely important.
Yeah, beyond the point of sale, right? Just even beyond the point of sale. Absolutely. You summed it quite well. So I'd like to move on to Lazada, Samir, yourself, and a lot of things happening, right? Like every day is like I in fact forgot the calendar of holidays in Singapore, because every time the promotions come, 3-3-4-4, gone are the dates of Christmas, Diwali, or any other Hari Raya, right? So you have a Lazada calendar, right? So can you share with us how do you retain and have a customer delight from Lazada standpoint? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I can pick up a couple of things that Vinay just mentioned. I was interested, when he used the word consistency and then humility and honesty and trust. I think like when you think about that experience is beyond last mile is to return, the return element is very important, because if something doesn't work, I am trusting you. So if something goes wrong, I want you to deal with this for me, right? So I think that element, and you're right. I think, when I think about customer experience, I remember my time when I started off with Redmart initially. Why do you think fresh food is important when you deliver a grocery offer? Is because fresh creates the retention. That's the thing that creates a return order, because you need to top up your fridge with your freshest product. And if you do this right, with freshness, with quality, the chance of people coming back to you is a lot greater. And then they'll buy other things alongside, that customer base. So the way I see it is, there's two bits to it. There's one way something goes wrong and you have to fix it pretty much immediately, and that could be a quick sprint. You take 4-6 weeks to fix a specific problem that just occurred. And there's some way you do fix things. And going back to Vinny's point about the consistency bit, now you need to be consistently good, right? Obviously you won't get everything right, and that's where the sprints come in to fix those little bits. When I look at it in the way we run our business is based around products, so the range of products that you're offering, it's the pricing, the promotion, and then it's the actual convenience part of it. So the services you add to bring customer the delight that they need to have to make online a platform they want to work with. And I also subscribe to, I don't think a future of just online business is a healthy one. We must have a balance where you have some in-store traffic, because our high streets, shopping malls must also have a life that they lead. And, you create a happy medium where you can do both in this setup. So the way I believe we do it is we create, and you're right, there's a lot of data there and it becomes very powerful, and what you do with it is very, very important. The way we work in our business today is we take all the information. We have a 3-year strategy, for example. With whatever we've gone through in the last 12 months, we take the information, we actually then create, again, going back to the 3 bold pillars of the product, the pricing, and then the convenience. We then create a business sort of plan, which is aligned from technology to your commercial side, to your fulfillment side, to your last mile customer service. And then more importantly, at the bottom is your people, right? Making sure you have the right caliber people leading this change forward. Once you've created that vision of what you need to create, and again, using the data to support you with the way forward, you write a very succinct plan that actually gives you a very clear deliverable that you must do by function that enables the end-to-end customer experience. So like, for example, if we get the last mile right, we get the fulfillment wrong, get the last mile right, you still have a very disappointing customer, because we've probably delivered the wrong product. We got there on time, but the whole experience is gone. You could do the most amazing product pricing and all that stuff. Last mile will let it down. Again, the experience is gone. So I think being consistent and being aware of where you fall over, what are those things that trip you, fixing those is very important. So creating that end-to-end alignment is very good, which also means from a business perspective, each individual knows, like, we literally create a relay now. You say, when I do something, I hand over to you, your job is to do this. If I live up to my KPIs and my ownership of the service I'm offering over to you, then I am done. Then it's your turn. You have to deliver. Then you hold each other very much accountable to those KPIs. And at the end of the month, end of the week, whatever it is you're reviewing, you can then start spotting where the errors occurred. And again, you know what? Things go wrong. We know they go wrong, and there's always a reason why they went wrong. And then it's a case of how do you now delve into the detail of that and fix that. So over time, when we think we can fix that, but broadly speaking, our operation works pretty well. And using the information that you have actually helps. And then one other thing I wanted to share was, there was a couple of references to chatbot as well. We brought that technology into a business about 2 years ago. What was really interesting was with all the calls we should take, we then recognized as soon as we brought the chatbot into the mix, about 80% of the issues actually got resolved pretty much immediately. Only 20% that get escalated to a person as to deal with them. Which again, from a customer experience, when you think about it, I don't want to hang around on a phone waiting for somebody to listen to me. If the call drops, I have to repeat my whole case again. Here, I can actually manage my own problem right the way through. And with the food business, we tried something different. Anything below a certain value, if the product wasn't to your standard, you have a section within the app. You go in there and you raise a query, and then you actually say this product was damaged or was missing or was a wrong item. Pretty much immediately we will refund you the value, and we'll actually offer you a replacement future order. So I think bringing that customer intuition into what you're doing and having alignment within the business, what needs to happen, and create into a relay with very clear KPIs, holding the team accountable, kind of gets you there. And you literally make your customer first by living, not only, you speak the words customers important, customer, comes first, but if you make them central to everything you build and build things around them, and then make sure people understand this, then the whole thing actually sticks together pretty well. So that's how we sort of thought as a philosophy we want to run our business. And we're doing this for the last 5 years at least. When we went from a startup to becoming something of a reasonable sized business, we implemented these things into the ways of working.
Yeah, absolutely. So you summed it up quite well, Jamil, and probably going to the last round, probably have a minute for each of you. Is there a clear success story you can share? Starting with you, from having a good, delightful experience, or maybe a GTM strategy, a quick one, a minute, on a success story you would like to share, recent one, by having a campaign done well or co-partnering with MediaCorp, it rings a bell for me. Like, you would like to share any of those?
I'll share. Maybe, it's not.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Sorry, did I interrupt? Sorry, I was.
No. Go ahead, Vinay. It's a panel, right? Anybody can say. No problem.
Sorry.
Go ahead. So Jamil gets a little time to think a little bit. Yeah, no worries. Yeah.
Okay. My apologies, but if you want to go ahead, I can come back.
No problem, Vinay. Go ahead. Share.
Okay. Look, I think for us, the real success story has been how this pandemic has brought millions of customers closer to our product offerings, right? And I guess this is a testament to the fact that you can never react to a big disruption in the market. Your business model has to be ready that when that disruption comes, it can serve the customer in a good way. So you might, Mano, you would probably remember, right? Many people were writing obituaries about personal computers, right? And saying the desktop is dead and this, so on and so forth, a few years ago, and saying, smartphones will take over, right? And everything will be done. And now we do know that, with the disruption that has happened, that these simple technologies have become so critical for customers, right? So the success story that I would call is really having the portfolio serve the customers in such a way that the demand has gone up, in double digit, right? In mature industries like computing or printers, having this such high demand is a testament to the fact that, having customer centricity and having technology that can make their experiences, whether it is, working or whether it is interacting with friends or, entertaining themselves, or indulging in some creative pursuit, it is very critical that you have that customer centricity and address their needs on a continuous basis. And when a break comes, whether in the form of a good disruption or a big need, then you benefit from that. So
got it. Invest in technology, and then pandemic has pushed technology investments high, right? So that itself is a good success story by itself. Yes, PCs and desktops are going to stay. I'm with you. We actually are running out of a backlog of orders, right? So absolutely with you. So quickly moving on to CK, maybe yourself, any success story to share, CK? Quick one as part of wrap up.
A good success story to share is really that we see more subscribers coming up to our platform because of the pandemic, and people are really getting used to all the so-called the interactions that we have online. And this was proven in a way is because of the user experience that people seen the improve. I think many times people are very frustrated with a lot of paperwork, a lot of processes that they have to go through. But when we advocate in terms of what is the online services, we see that their subscriber rate itself went up. Like one of our products itself is the Callisto Freight Exchange. In the short period of time, we launched in April 2020. It was during the worst case of the pandemic timeframe. And guess what? By August 2020, we actually have signed up about close to 300 over users to sign up to use our products itself. So this proves that people are accepting the adoption of the changes itself, and we see that this pandemic actually really rely very much on how you enhance your customer experience, and people get to see that this is a good chance that I should embark on it, change the process. Really, that is something that we like to share, and that is something really a booster to myself and the team itself to say that, hey, they've done a great successful things, especially during this pandemic time frame.
So that's why we know you're in a high responsibility. You got it. So it justifies. Pandemic push you. So Jamil, maybe we'll go to you, and then I'll finish off with Datushree, right? Jamil, maybe any good success story of campaign, co-innovation, anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, sure. I think the one thing I look back at, and again, is the pandemic created a very different method of how we all worked. So when I look back, we launched live streaming. So obviously we don't contact customers physically a lot, but we created live streaming as an option within our app, where you can actually, as a promoter of a product, you can come in and do a live streaming of the product, share with the customers what the product is about, why would you use it. So we have like tips on makeup, cooking, clothing, and we have a studio that we built for doing that. And that literally we do like if I was to log onto app now, there'd be a streaming going off something or another. What I recognized was that actually brought people closer to the product, and also helped in this particular environment to actually get used to shopping without going to a store. So they got, without having to test and check things, they looked at particularly the influencer who can actually take them through these products and sell them with whatever they think they wanted. Secondly, we use this to great effect as well. So we actually, particularly in Singapore, we brought in a doctor who specializes in tropical diseases at the very early stages of, when COVID came in. All sorts of rumors are around, like if you get a parcel, there could be potential to catch it through the packaging and so on. So we invited this doctor along. He did a 45-minute session for us to all the customers that we had, and basically explained how, what should you do to protect yourself, what cannot actually affect you, and so on. So I think we used it for greater good as well of the society, of educating people on certain specific things that they were actually really, really concerned about. Now, on the other side, we actually then also helped our sellers bring their business closer to the customer base. So I think that, was for me, when I look back, is one of the biggest achievements we've had. And I think it will change how we do business, coming to the future. And I think it will actually bring a new paradigm to how online actually works.
No, that really helps, giving a kind of a brick and mortar feeling on an online platform, leveraging a network and the products. Yeah, amazing. So thanks for sharing that, Jamil. And Datushree, I would like to wrap up with you saying that any good success story which you would like to share for where the customer delight, customer is very happy.
Being a trade facilitation partner, one of the challenges on this COVID-19 is sourcing of component and supply chain. And one that come, top of mind. Number one is Petronas. Because I used to be in Petronas, a while ago. But Petronas, because of their global procurement, they use a lot of vendors and suppliers. And they, because of the COVID, some of the traditional supply chain have to be reshifted. So when they use our trade facilitation platform, they have issues in trying to reconcile their documentation, into the back-end system. So what we offer them a web-based application to integrate the platform, the trade platform, into the SAP. So now they really enjoy it. So they have now, the procurement team have better visibility about where the cargoes are coming in, and processing of invoice are much better, shipping documents are done much faster. So that's a very classic example that they had a pain point. We intervened very quickly, trying to remove the pain point. Second is, of course, IKEA. Similar thing, complexity on their inbound import documentation. So we integrate, our front-end trade facilitation system into the SAP. And now the bosses have real time in terms of where documents are, where the goods are going to be, particularly in the vessel. So that gives them better planning in terms of, reacting to the market. So these two important customer gave us a lot more confidence, because whatever they are facing, I think almost all companies are going through the same thing. So that is why we want to, really learn from these two experience, make it a bit more, simpler in terms of our integration. And like CK said, empower them to do the integration some by themselves, so that they can then do their own, simple integration, and then they can have the visibility of the data. And I believe if I were in their shoes, having live information is key to make business decisions. They want to know where the goods are. They don't want bottlenecks in documentation, at the custom. They want to, be able to process their tariff, their tax very quickly, because that's that drives, the efficiency in the business. So those are two examples that I really want to share, and I'm sure there's plenty out there of people who are demanding the same thing. So the good news, I think, for people like us, there's always opportunity to grow. The question is, how do you, customize your solution, and how do you approach and addressing, the widespread of a customer that we have, big multinational, even to the SME. The other gap, Manoj, maybe I just want to share with our colleagues, in Malaysia. Malaysia is focusing a lot on growth at SME. These are the people who doesn't really have any, big large system, but still, technology, but still hungry for efficiency. For example, Vinay, I'm talking to your colleague here at HP in Malaysia to package, good HP modules, or, rather than high capital up cost. Now people want to only pay as you use kind of concept. So the business model a little bit is different. So what was traditional, if we were to adapt and working with partners like HP, Microsoft, and that's what we do, then I think we can customize. And then I think, bring music to ears of the customer, so like I say, a happy customer is always a returning customer. So my job is to make sure that all our customers are happy this year, hopefully.
Yeah, very good. So you summed it up quite well. So consortium like us, we like to bring the industry, government, and organizations like you together. So there's more opportunity there. And thanks for sharing that, Datuk, actually. So that really helps. And partnering with the platforms, doing with the different integration points with APIs and all that, it's a good, delightful experience and good success story you shared. So with this, I think this is very interesting, and then this series which can go on and on with the experience you have, but we are running a little short of time. I'd like to thank you, Datuk, for spending your time and sharing your insights with us. CK from Crimson and Getz. So thank you so much. And same with Vinay, Hewlett Packard. Thanks for sharing. And Jamil from Lazada. Thank you so much. And really happy to have you guys here and excited to moderate this time. Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you to all our panelists. And that was a very riveting session. And these kind of conversations inspire all of us. Let's move to the next keynote. Digital customer experience. We have Sanjay Agarwal, VP Information Technology, Avery Dennison. Sanjay, over to you. We are delighted to have you.
Hello, everyone. Let me start with my introduction. I'm Sanjay Agarwal. I'm head the IT for the retail branding division in Avery Dennison. So today, with our agenda, we'll go through that who we are, our business, digital transformation, what we are doing right now, what some of the detailed discussions we will have, and I will try to share what we learned out of this. We are a U.S. headquarters, located in Glendale, California. 7.1 billion dollar company in 2019. 50 countries, located in 50 countries. We are more than 30,000 employees. We are Fortune 500 company. And our business mainly into major three business units division. One is that label and graphics material business, where you think of that a label goes into the on the top of the wine bottle or the dishwashing liquid bottles, or like day to day you will see a lot of labels coming from us in your consumable, almost of your consumables. Or second division is retail branding business, where all the tickets, tags, labels, embellishment which goes on the top of the garments from all the major brands. That's what we do. And third is the industrial and healthcare material business, which is our smallest one. Now, with that, our key focus is the supporting the industries, especially by providing the sustainable products. We do focus on sustainability very heavily, like all the labels, garments, whatever we manufacture need to be sustainable, and that's what our focus is moving towards basically. Even today, like other day, I was visiting to our factory, I saw the innovations that they manufacture the hangers made of the cardboards basically. Diversity and inclusion is the key. Our industry target to have the highly diverse employee and creating the all-inclusive culture. And that's the one of my core responsibility while as a leaders in the organization. And we play a lot of great role for our corporate social responsibility across the organization by supporting the multiple initiatives, empowering the women in the community, etc. Coming to our digital transformation journey perspective, earlier we used to call this the customer experience. Now we try to add on the top of the digital customer experience. So customer experience includes everything, but on the top of that, when we add the digital experience, that's experience through how you provide to your customer by introducing the laptop, tablets, a smartphone. So think of that. We are a manufacturer of the garment labels. You always day to day, sometime you also read that care label which goes under the garment, the washing instructions basically. It's very difficult to go and read this small letter washing instruction. You think of that if we provide you the 2D barcode and you just scan the 2D barcode and you just immediately see that what is the instruction on mobile phone. And that's what the digital experience, that like even though those garments are manufactured by all the major brands like Nike, Adidas, Target, any one of them, but still we are in the backend, we are the data provider, we are the label provider, and we support. And if we partner with them and provide you that experience, that's what the digital consumer experience we are focusing towards. So today, we all have seen the world, like the way COVID has changed the entire world. Whatever it was not possible last so many years. The COVID made it very possible very quickly. I mean, we all are getting on the Zoom calls. We all are connecting with each other and that's what the digital experience we are moving forward. Like if you look at the mobile market, like now has increased in the last 1 year by more than 10% basically, especially the people are using the mobile. Utilization of desktop has gone down by 10%, and it's a lot. 7 hour, like most of our consumers are looking for the most best experience via mobile experience. Now, if we go more in the details, like just think of our industry. So you take any major brand, and their factories may be subcontractor or they may be owning their factories. They manufacture the garment. On the parallelly, we receive the order to manufacture the labels and tags. And what we do that we provide, so we take the order from the headquarters in this diagram HQ, we provide the labels and tags, then it goes to the, then that goes to the factories. The factories is nothing but that a manufacturer of the garment, they manufacture, they attach the tag, then it goes to the distribution center, from distribution to sub-distribution, then it goes to the store, and finally it goes to the consumer. And for our response, and in this whole supply chain and whole network, we own the data. We keep the data and is owned by the brands, but still we have the data for the almost of the things. And our vision is that to each and every physical item in the world should have the digital ID. And how that can transform the whole world, this entire ecosystem, if we know that how that physical item is moving around, how we are going to, how we can track those each and every physical item by a digital ID, and how that transform the entire ecosystem. By keeping that, very recently, we have launched our new connected platform where the billions of the products is already connected. And I will take you that this is the Atma.io is our connected platform, where you can go through that website called Atma.io, where we have 10 plus billions of the physical items are already connected. Where and I will request here to play the video, or you can go here to Atma.io and review, look at the video. But here, like as you scan the 2D barcode on the any garments, you can see the entire traceability of the product, whether it is the garments, whether it is a food item located at the store, whether you think of that, it also provides the, like you think of the vaccine today, how the vaccine is moving toward the ecosystem, and how at what environment, what was the temperature it was kept. So we all are providing the entire traceability of the lot of items. The apparel in the food item, like it goes into Kroger or any retail chain, that entire traceability you can see here. So and this is only possible via a couple of things. We are a manufacturer of the RFID labels, RFID tags. There's a multiple different advancement of the tags we manufacture. And you think of that a label, which like you think of that this label. Within this label, if you see here, this is the RFID tag. This RFID tag is provide the traceability. A farmer sitting in their farms, and when they print the tag, and they know that, and then they put the tag that this I already packed a big bag of the spinach. Then immediately this RFID provides the data to our cloud system that with this serial number, with this tag, is linked with the one big bag of the spinach. And as it goes to the value chain and reaches to the world of the Subway or Chipotle or somewhere, basically, I'm just taking the name, that's not the right names. But once it reaches to their destination, it provides the complete traceability that, hey, this is what that material came from. It can do it. We can do the complete traceability, and that can save a lot of things in our ecosystems, basically. So coming back to our internal customer experience perspective, our key focus into how to change the experience of our customer. So there are the 4 key elements are there. One is that how you engage with your customer, how you manage your customer, how you create the product for your customer, and then how you provide the customer experience to your customer. So let me go into more detail around this. When you engage any new customer you get or existing customer, when you are engaging this, you are in the cycle of the selling your product, basically. That how you sell your new products, new services, new offering to your existing and new customer. And that's where that marketing tools we are utilizing now. Then after that, and once the customer shows the interest that this is how I'm interested, immediately that converts into the pipeline or subsequently to the opportunity and linked with our CRM system. And within a CRM, that is linked with our forecasting system, which it is linked with the it links back to our next step, that is the CPQ system, that is a configure, price, and quote. And that's what that product development comes, where we can provide the real-time quotation to our customers. And as we get the orders, quotation, and go through the process, then how you provide the experience to our customer. I mean, providing a customer 360, what is the status of your product, what is the how the product will be delivered, when it will be delivered, and how we can provide all this experience digitally to our customer, and as well as our customer service agent and customer, and as well as our sales team. And that's what our customer 360 enablement is there. Then on the top of this, we are also looking forward that how we can go beyond the Atma.io or this four components which generate the customer experience, that providing the more mobile or digital experience by providing the unique digital experience where we are utilizing our multi-cloud strategy. And when we look multi-cloud strategy, in that way we have developed, or we have already launched our platform called iCore. In that platform, that entire big data platform, it consists of big data platform, it consists of the IoT platform, it consists of the multiple microservices that basically enables that entire customer experience. You think of that, our customers, they do the in-plant printing, so the customer can come into our platforms and they can request the tag printout, and the tags getting printed on the printers located on their in their factories, basically. So like that, we have a lot of use cases which we have enabled via using these technologies of the multi-cloud strategy. You think of the certain products are there, like beverages, which we go into. It's in some stores lying in the cooler, which has the RFID tag, which has the RFID reader, real time, that provides the inventory of those products onto the Google. In the Google, you can see that specific product lying in what is stored at the point of time, and you can get the real-time inventory and visibility. These are big transformations which we are trying to do at the moment. We are trying to create a big impact in the industry, and our journey is very important, and it's moving very high pace. So with that, from our lesson learned, basically. So in the lesson learned, I would like to share one important thing is the change management. All this technology as a IT leaders, we all can bring. We can sign up the cloud, we can sign up all this CRM system, forecasting system, multiple system. The key thing is the change management at all the levels and the stakeholders. And that's so what we did, that we started with the design thinking sessions, trying to understand what's our current pain points, then created the strategy along with all the stakeholders in the business at all the levels. And then we ensure that this is strategy, their strategy, not the IT strategy. And after that, the same team is a part of the execution team. So they are a part, and they are running multiple sprints, multiple projects, and trying to make all this project initiatives successful. As soon as this becomes the IT project, it is going to fail. So all these technologies are very simple, but adoption is very difficult. So that's a key challenge, and that's why we are addressing that key challenge. So I would like to thank you to every one of you to listening me, and appreciate any feedback, and feel free to reach out to me or Malvika or anyone in the organizing team. in case if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Ajay, for that presentation. And it's great to know what is happening in digital customer experience domain. And we need more of these conversations. Let's move to the next panel discussion. This is the CX Retail Shift. We have Sadik Rautar, who will be the moderator. Sadik, over to you.
Hey, hello and good morning. Good afternoon to everyone joining us from across the regions. Thank you for your participation and what I believe will be an exciting panel discussion. My name is Sadik Rautar, and I'm the moderator for this panel discussion on customer experiences, CX, retail shift. We will be talking all about customer experiences and expectations. I'm very sure this topic is close to many of us. It impacted our everyday lives, and each of us saw the impact it had on our businesses and the customer psyche and behavior. Now, needless to say, retail has been one of the sectors that's been on the forefront of the pandemic, being challenged in multiple ways. We saw how retail was performing during lockdowns. We saw how stores that carried groceries, household items, which were disrupting supply chains, planning cycles. We saw other retail segments such as luxury, apparel, travel, restaurants, everything fall by the wayside, with stores and mall traffic falling to their lowest. Many of us witnessed it personally. Now, while we went through all of this in most of 2020, many of the businesses are staging a very strong comeback and showing strong resilience. Buzzwords like leading with digital, touchless commerce, personalization, offline, online commerce, agile supply chain, these have been defining and setting the new bar on how we are going to be enhancing the customer experience. To break this down and share what the future holds for us and share their experiences, let me introduce this very diverse panel of thought leaders. Firstly, I'd like to introduce Nicole Tretwer, Head of Logistics Services, APAC Swarovski. Nicole is a seasoned digital transformation and business leader, depth of experience in supply chain, logistics, e-commerce. You can imagine how busy Nicole would have been all through 2020, through the pandemic and now. Welcome, Nicole, to this panel conversation. Nicole has spent 3 years in our current role at Swarovski, and prior to that with Schenker in China and a few other markets. Swarovski as a company doesn't need any introduction with their sparkling crystal creations and some amazing, charming jewelry, I should say, across many, many markets. I'm sure we're all a fan of Swarovski in many ways. Next on a panel, I'd like to introduce Renki Mahadevan. He's CIO, Dubai Investments, and GM TechSource. Welcome, Renki, to the panel. Renki joins us from Dubai. Renki is definitely not a new face to the Global CIO Forum. We've all seen him in multiple panels. Renki is a tech evangelist, an angel investor, a mentor to CXOs and startups. And more importantly, what I like about Renki is he's a talk show host and creator of ZenPod. Definitely, you should check this out if you haven't. Renki spent the last 8+ years in Dubai. And I know Renki for more than 25+ years. We go back many, many years. And I can vouch for the depth of experience and the technology adoption he's worked on across a variety of industries, FMCG, CPG, retail, you name it, Renki's been there. Renki, wonderful to have you on this panel.
Thank you, Sadik.
And the third leader on the panel is Anil Maynen. Anil joins us from the beautiful city of Kochi in India. Anil is Head of Information Technology at Lulu Group India Private Limited. Many of you, Lulu's very familiar to every one of you. Lulu is a multinational conglomerate, operates hundreds of hypermarkets and retail chains across Asia, Middle East, Africa, and other regions. Prior to this, Anil spent time with the Tata Group, more as the general manager for IT innovation in Tata Starbucks, and head of IT at Trent Hypermarkets, which is again a very deep retail in apparel, luxury, etc. Anil comes with again many years of experience across IT and specifically on retail organizations, Wonderful to have you, Anil, on this panel. Look forward to your insights. Last but not the least is Ashok Raj Vadivelu, who's CEO at Intellizest. Welcome, Ashok. Intellizest is all about reshaping and rewiring your businesses for a resilient digital enterprise today and tomorrow. If I've got that right, Ashok. It's wonderful, the work that you're doing. Ashok, as I know personally, is a dynamic professional, comes with many years of experience, supply chain, information management, business intelligence, and broadly IT consulting. More recently, Ashok has been a mentor to enterprises on the blockchain transformation across many verticals. Ashok, personally, I want to really understand from you at some other time how blockchain and NFT can give me the next $1 million. I'm sure everybody's keen on understanding how that works. Anyway, once again, welcome to the panel. This is going to be a really exciting conversation. And without further ado, let me jump into the topic. And the way we'll go about this is, I would like to really hear your own personal learnings and experiences on how COVID-19 has shaped customer experiences, behavior, their psyche, and what businesses are doing to bounce back and win against competition. So again, a very broad topic, but each one of us have a lot of depth of experience and learning. We'll jump into that. Let me start with Nicole. Love to hear your experience and learnings on this. Over to you, Nicole.
Thank you, Sadiq, and thank you for having me here. It's an IT forum, and I mentioned earlier I'm probably the least IT person you will have, but I think it's good in the sense that I'm the one using the technology, right, without having all the background, so I can tell you more about what somebody like me would expect from technology in general, right? So Swarovski, I mean, we are a brand with 125 years of heritage, right? And we've been working very hard on perfecting our crystals, on perfecting our jewelry. So you can imagine now in the last year, we've been hit very, very hard because the essence of having jewelry and enjoying that jewelry is the experience of going to the store and seeing the items, seeing the necklaces and trying it on, of course, to see how it is, right? So this is a very important part that has been basically ripped out of the consumer experience, at least when we had our lockdowns. And we had to do a very, very, very quick shift. So fortunately, we have, of course, a very loyal consumer base, and we were able to replicate this and shift into the online channel rather quickly, right? But what have we done? So we have to re-engage with our consumer. What does that mean? Is we need to find different media to engage. And one of them is, of course, now, if you look on the Instagram accounts, we are much more out there. We're engaging more. We're bringing the consumer into it. We're having a conversation and instead of just a presentation of our product. And I have two questions towards IT at this stage as a retailer, right? I have the question is, how can IT support me as a business, as a supply chain function to run the business smoothly? And the second question is, how can IT support me in making the experience, in replicating the experience of the consumer in a virtual environment? And I'm talking here about AR, I'm talking about IR, I'm talking about any R that you have out there. How can you help me as IT replicate that in order for me to give my consumer at least the items that they're lacking right now in the stores where we're locked down and have that in an experience in a virtual environment?
Wonderful. And we will get those answers to you, Nicole, because this is exactly what many of the businesses are asking. Let me move on to, and hold on to that thought, Nicole, we'll come back to you with that. Renki, I'd like to hear your learnings and experiences. Go for it.
Okay, didn't expect to get onto the hot seat so soon, but I will. I will still. So it's unfair that you bring on somebody after a Swarovski person has spoken. So I don't shine like the jewels or the crystals, but yeah, you know, Sadiq, thank you very much for the introduction and lovely to be with everybody here. Customer experience, I genuinely believe, is going to be the centerpiece and the mantle going forward. While a lot of things will not change, such as customers or consumers, all of us, for example, all of us on this panel and beyond, believe that customer experience is important. And I was going through one of the studies, Sadiq, a little while ago, and it said about 73 or 75% of us believe that customer experience is very important. And unfortunately, less than 50% of consumers believe that they are getting that from the organizations. And I'm talking about large, organizations based in the US and Europe and all of that. So clearly there is a gap. While all of us believe, I think it's time now for CIOs, for business owners, for the CFOs, CXOs to put their money where their mouth is, or to actually convert consumer service or CX from just being a lip service to actually doing something that happens. So Nicole mentioned something very beautifully, and she really put us on the spot saying, okay, you guys, what can you do for us? I need my supply chain to be efficient. I need you guys to do this for me. And she's business, right? So she's business. She runs a exciting product, a consumer product in any which way you can. She's part of the business, the C-level person that you would want to talk to, and clearly has been impacted by the pandemic that all of us have. So what do we do? So, organizations will need to get to, so Nicole, really to answer your question, CIOs will have to start coming to you, or your CIO will have to come to you and give you what is known as predictive CX. So, and I liked what you said about engaging with your consumers on Insta, on Snapchat, that's where people have in the last 5 years moved, I don't know if you have noticed, moved away from Facebook. Mark will not like me saying this, but they clearly moved away from Facebook to more interactive and very predictive social media channels. So I've seen Swarovski, I've seen some large brands do this, engaging with the consumer over social media. And it's not just sending a mail and expecting a reply. It's actually holding the consumer's hand and say, what can I do better? How can I design things better? So going forward, and I will talk later, but going forward, clearly CX needs to be the centerpiece. We will need to employ, while we need to employ stuff like AI, and I think two major things that will remain is neuroscience is going to be hugely deployed into designing your CX technologies. What's also going to happen, which is where human behavior comes in, and I'm a big believer of that, I think we will have to start deploying anthropology to some extent. So that I think will be really the foundation or the discussion point or the thread running across, and hopefully Nicole will find an answer to some of her questions very soon.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, absolutely. Thanks, Renki, for sharing your thoughts on that. Let me move on to Anil. Would you like to go next?
Yeah, thanks, Sadiq, and thanks for having me on this panel. I would go with an amalgam of what Nicole spoke about and what Renki spoke about. What we went in the recent times is more from an aspect of culture, right? Customer experience was always a part and have been a part and parcel of every retailer. But how do you define it is something which came up very clearly during this pandemic. Now, when I say that, while we spoke about having the word competition, now the competition has blurred. Now it is more collaboration which comes out. Now, how do you collaborate with this pandemic taught us all of that? How do you collaborate with your competitors or so-called competitors, or how do you make that extra mile go? Is something which most of my experiences in this last 1.5 years, 18 months have taught me around. That's one part of it. Second, I would always work with an aspect, and which I will look at as future and also presently, which during this pandemic, which we are going through, is the cultural shift, the mindset shift, which is happening towards IT. Now, as Nicole spoke about, what am I going to get from IT? IT was always speaking it out, but had that business, had the culture embrace that is something which is coming out right now. Now, I can give you an AI from day one, but if the output doesn't make any sense to you, while it comes to business and trying to figure out what the opportunity out there is, I think that agility has now started coming up. And pandemic has brought in very clearly in terms of supply chain, in terms of thought process, in terms of what the customer requires, in terms of personalization, and social listening has become so loud that it's deafening everything around it, right? So that's something which the collaborative nature of business has now started bringing into. That's my experience in the last 18 months.
Wonderful. Thanks, Anil. And I know you continue to reflect on both your earlier experience with the Tata Starbucks, and as you get into your new role, we'll probably try and get more from you in terms of your experiences across both these sectors. Let me switch to Ashok. Ashok Raj, would you like to share in terms of how you see customer expectations, how they have been influenced? Go for it, Ashok.
Yeah, thank you, Sadek. And it's always good to go last. You can collate everyone and bring up the best out of it. So good that way. And so this pandemic in particular, and as Nicole was pointing out, the whole omni-channel was kind of diluted. You see, it was an extension of whatever that was available today, and nothing was moving, and all the AIs can't work really because you don't have a past, you don't have a history to even find a pattern on how you're going to get into a new business model, right? So what we started doing is, as Anil pointed out, it was a collaborative economy, which is by and large now, and how this disruptive channels can bring in better efficiency or better models or customer experience. Because till pandemic, customer experience is all about UI. There will be a set of UI, UX designers who sit and say, oh, this is an experience, the minimum you touch, minimum you feel. But now it's an era where we are entering, there is no touch at all. Touch is prohibited, you see. So how do we even get into that model where you don't touch? So the boundaries set were very clear. Number one is giving an experience where safety is being taken care when it is going to be the brick and mortar store, or double down on the digital and how effective is your the innovation is going to happen. So we kind of moved from an UI UX to a more of AR VR, augmented reality, become more of a supporting hand, which was kind of good to have, because we see a lot of retailers before COVID have that AR as a showcase, not really was used, but now AR, VR, everything become the prime movers of the business moving forward on how it's going to be there, So that's the areas that we started focusing on as a product company. The lessons learned, what we wanted to give is focus on those areas, which is going to really help the retailers. And that's how we started the journey.
Absolutely. Now, I think thanks Ashok, thanks for sharing that. Very relevant insights. I'm sure that many people in the audience will relate to some of the experiences you have shared. I must remind the panelists that we owe an answer to Nicole, some of the questions that you have raised at the start of the panel. And this is exactly what we are trying to also try and address in terms of how does IT, having a seat at the table. Definitely the digital footprint is increasing, and we see that with the pandemic. I've personally seen how CEOs are now saying, you don't have to beg for money anymore. Tell me, where do I put the money? How do I invest? How do I accelerate the whole digital transformation? So we're definitely seeing a very large shift that's taken place. So thank you for sharing your personal experiences and learnings. If I can now switch gears a little bit, I want to get a little more specific with in your areas in terms of how businesses and certain functions have been responding to this. I'll pick maybe Anil to start with you. I mean, you've had experiences both online, offline, especially with Lulu, and prior also. Now, one of the big cultural shifts that has happened, we spoke about culture. One of the big cultural shifts that's happened is around social distancing and other new norms that are going to continue to stay longer beyond even the pandemic and outlive many of us. So my question is around, and I'll probably run this through a couple of you, starting with Anil, is really how do we continue to communicate and engage with shoppers? How do we make sure, for a lack of a better word, how do we emulate offline brick and mortar experiences on an online channel? So maybe I'll start with you, Anil, and then I'll maybe ask one more person to reflect on it. Anil, if you're good.
Sure. So, Sadiq, to be very clear on how this pandemic has brought us together from an online and offline mode of it, is that while we over a period of time spoke about omni-channel and so on and so forth, and as Ashok rightly said, there's nothing called as an omni-channel per se. It is more now in the nature of it. We would look at it in a manner where this pandemic has given us one aspect, which is collaboration, and by which we have the virtue of which we can reach or we have reach to customers who are never our customers. They were more on a social media, social listening, and all of that was going on. With this social listening, we have now reaching out to customers who are never our customers, who never knew about it or was not very familiar with the brand and so on and so forth, or it was an aspirational aspect, right? So here is where the agility of the business internally and externally have come up. The data which was the oil and which is now has different names to itself, whatever we call it up, is giving us directions, suggestions towards making the right investments. And that's what the leadership also have seen in this current times, and that's why they are ready to put the money where we talk about it, right? My aspect or our experience so far has been so that the customer reach has gone high, one. Second, when you say personalization, now personalization become a hyper personalization. You can abuse it as much as words you can put around it. Yep. But we have now reached to a segment which was never our focus area, right? And now we are trying to cater them with the help of AIs, MLs, ARs, and as Nicole said, all the Rs possible, and trying to make sure that they stay with us. They stay with us, and again going back to Venki, I may support you on that, but Mark may take us off chart by saying that Facebook is no more the place to be. It's more Instagrams and others or the media is where the focus have gone into. Making sure that Anil, when he opens his Instagram, knows precisely what he's looked at, and not making too much of noise. See, we go to an extent saying that it becomes a noise after some time. Sure. Let's not become a noise to the customer, right? There should be a cutoff on this noise, and we should know what level of customer experience should we put in. And the later part to it is the organization should have the same mindset. It's not that a particular team is driving that customer experience and the organization is in a different level of customer experience lookout. So that's what I would put it across during this pandemic and what we learned across this time.
Thanks, Anil. Thanks for sharing that. I'm tempted to ask you, Nicole. I mean, you also run online and offline stores and so on. So anything that you want to add to what Anil just mentioned?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, one of the biggest challenges as a retailer is to have your inventory at the right time where the consumer wants to purchase it. So I think this drive that we currently have towards an omnichannel, and when I speak about omnichannel, I don't speak only about the marketing omnichannel, but I'm actually speaking about a supply chain fully integrated omnichannel with all the intelligence that you would need to have in theory in order to operate it, which I think most companies at this stage don't have, right? I think this is the drive we're seeing. I have to hold a lot of inventory to make sure when my consumer goes in the store, actually the item is there. And then to be able to replenish that from any place in the world. I think that's one of the key learnings that we have. And I think that's where we stand at the moment as retailers, where we need to try to figure out how to do that, to improve the consumer experience. So if it's not online available, or to have one joint inventory view, that we're able to supply the demand from wherever we are in the world, and also link in with the service providers to deliver the product quickly wherever.
Absolutely, yeah. Nicole, very well said. And in terms of sharing on top of what Anil said, but while I have you on this, I do want to very quickly pick your thoughts on, I mean, personally, I saw the shift from going from a just-in-time inventory management to a just-in-case, supply chain management, where people were stocking up just without that bit of uncertainty.
Yes.
Now, and clearly there was the shift to a dynamic and an agile supply chain planning. So,
yes.
Okay, the question to you is, how is supply chain transforming itself? Because this is going to become the new norm.
It is. And I think it's just the classical transformation from big batch to lean, right? I think, and lean only works if your supply chain is really running smoothly. So the moment you close a border, or the moment there is no ship or no air freight space available, right? Then suddenly you realize that, if you have all your suppliers in one particular country, it's not going to work anymore. So it's about really taking the right mix of fragmenting your supply chain across the globe so that you're able to shift your supply chain and source from different corners in the world and also supply in those markets. But then again, why do you buffer? You buffer because there is a demand that might happen and you don't have the visibility on where your inventory is. You don't have the visibility on who could ship from where, how fast into the demand. And that is the real problem. The problem is the absence of data transparency, which currently everybody has, right? If I tell you tomorrow, I need this item delivered to Kochi, please, this SKU, you are not able to tell me within 5 minutes that you have this item sitting in maybe some warehouse in Canada, and who is the right service provider to ship it in express there within 24 hours. And I think that's the matter, right? We would need all that data transparently available in order to avoid having those buffer stocks and tied down capital.
Absolutely. And you touched upon, thanks, Nicole, you touched upon something that's at the core of everything, which is all around data. I used to love saying data is the new oil, but with the way oil has been behaving these days, I don't know whether I want to say that again. But I want to thanks, Nicole, for the thought. I'm going to shift to maybe get some insights from Renki and Ashok in terms of, consumer companies, retail companies must invest in data, technology, systems, and etc. so on to deliver the kind of exceptional consumer experiences. And it doesn't matter. It's about moving products from one place to another. It could be something that Anil talked about. Where are you both seeing, and I'll pass it to the two of you and take it in any order. Where are you seeing companies, whether it's collaborating with startups or investments, native investments, where are you seeing companies go after these technologies to make sure they are winning in the marketplace for the future? I could start with Renki, you, and then maybe touch upon Ashok, your thoughts, either way.
Okay. So Sadiq, CX is going to be a powerful catalyst for change as we speak about it, right? So I'll give you a small story internally what we did. As an organization, we've been on the digital transformation and the blueprint is now complete. We worked on it for the last 2 years. What we did was we said, customer experience is going to be the centerpiece of our strategy. And we as an organization have very diverse businesses. We are across 35 companies, so many industry segments. So it's a little challenging, but we said consumer experience is the centerpiece, right? And we actually got the CXO, so the CEO, the CFO, and all of them to take a stake in the CX story. That's the only way it works. So the moment there is a stake, there is a clear participation, and it's not an IT story any longer. It's not while technology is an enabler and all of that, it's not an IT story, and Anil touched upon it. It's really the consumer who walks in through the door. But having said all of that, so what we did was we actually redefined our IT operating model. We redefined our IT operating model and kept the business and consumer at the focus of it. We said, what does the consumer need? Does the consumer need proactive IT? Do they need reactive IT? Do they need keep the lights on IT? And it could be different story for any of us. But clearly, a lot of things have changed in the last 1 year, from all of us having to get Teams and Zoom up and running in 3 hours to making sure we have enough bandwidth and making sure it's no longer I can't hear you, I can't see you types to to all of that. We've come a long way. But the other side to it is, Sadiq, even as we speak, I think a lot of organizations, and this is probably not the right thing, a lot of organizations are still working on outdated technologies. They're still running their old loyalty programs.
Great example. Yeah.
Yeah. And my point is the consumer walking in through the door is more educated, smarter, more demanding, has very reasonable, answers to all your questions. So treat him differently. Treat him like an adult. Treat him like a mature individual walking in through your door who knows what he wants. When he walks in, don't tell him, tell us what you want and I know your size is 42. No, tell him that I know these are the purchases you made in the last 6 months. Absolutely. And based on what it is, and I think I know your purchase patterns. I think, going forward, you should be investing in a cuffling shirt and not a normal shirt, or you should be investing in cotton and not polyester because the blah, blah, blah. My point is organizations are not doing that. So if you ask me in a very radical way, I would say burn the house down. Don't build on something that you've been doing, because I understand you've invested a lot, but frankly, spending more time and effort on it is putting good money behind bad money. You've done it. It served your purpose. It no longer works for you to know your bus is on time. You need to know how many seater. Is there place on the bus for me? Is my bus running late? Let's get to real time. It's no longer about, it's okay for 6 smart MBA kids working on a strategy document, giving it to you after 1 week and competition has already launched it. You need real time. So if you're CEO or if Nicole logs into her computer at this point of time, she wants to know, she has a right to know who is the consumer in my store and what is the transaction happening currently as I speak. Have I moved products or am I actually stocking dead stuff in my shelves? So it's time to move away from independent organization emotions to the consumer emotions. And I think that's where we need to get in, bring the experience, get data scientists to work on consumer behavior, put that at the center of your technology. Of course, there is AI, there is all the R's like she mentioned, there is, process automation, but really get the consumer to be your story. And if you get that right, you will be fine and you will be smiling. Don't work on old, outdated technology. And I've been saying this, you don't have to be state of the art, but at least be relevant.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, nobody has gone wrong. No, very well said, Renki. And nobody has really gone wrong putting consumer or customer at the center. Exactly. I think you can never get it wrong. Exactly. So, no, absolutely. And any organization I've seen, or organizations that have kept that as the core mantra, Renki, you and I go back to Procter & Gamble days where consumer, it was all about the consumer customer experience. So, and that has never changed. And yes. It is only, if at all anything, it's only strengthened now. Correct. Ashok, I do want to hear your thoughts on, where companies should be investing. And more importantly, I think even this is a great opportunity for us to answer the question about where can IT help make lives easier for the business. Maybe you can take that, Ashok. You have I'm sure you have a lot of things to say on that.
Thank you, Sadik. It becomes more of my platform, being a product-based company. And, absolutely. And I just love Renki, because burn the house, that's exactly what people do. I mean, that's how agile people have to be in taking decisions, For example, every CXO, CIOs, and the CEOs are very busy in reorchestrating the whole business models. Business models are not the same. Same time, there is also someone called as a CFO. Their core purpose is to modify the cost model. Cost model cannot elevate. So we actually categorize into 2 segments, the front end and the back end. The front end is what the consumers are experiencing. Whatever that we are talking now, it's all about how the consumer experiences. That's the front end. And as Renki rightly pointed out, we need to make sure that we give the consumer the insights for having a better experience. Not that we prolong giving much things, like we hit the nail exactly on what their preference is, how they like it. And all the state-of-the-art technologies are much needed over there. And we have enough of off-the-shelf products now available for any of the front end that you are looking out, which will enable or support the digital marketing and the digital medias like Google and other stuff. In fact, Instagram and Facebook, if they are doing business for you directly, Google is one which is doing almost 60 or 70% of the houseful indirectly, because anyone searches, it ends up with you. When you're going to pay for the digital marketing, that's going to end up, which is going to be a large one for you. So this is the front end. But back end is quite interesting, because that's when the real supply chain and all the fulcrums were running together, which was totally disrupted because of this pandemic. Like as Nicole mentioned, it's there in Canada, but how do I even move it? We are all collaborating. Yes, the collaboration is happening very, very evidently, but the move to happen, the logistics to happen, is not literally available at our choice. It's the choice of the governments which were deciding to move from one to another. So it was more of in-house or within the country, how effectively can we move, and outside of the country, what are that we are focusing on. That's where what we developed is the demand actually changed to a no coding solutions. People were looking of, we don't want solutions which you come and say, oh, we are going to take 3 months time. No, that's not what we were looking at. Absolutely. We want some solutions which absolutely requires no code. We pick up, configure, roll it out. So that's what we were doing. And we enabled all our supply chain solutions to make sure that it all fits to exact way it's going to work. One classic example before I move on is, we also developed AI engines to figure out like how the weather is figuring out. We figured out where the lockdown is effective. What is the kind of movements that are happening today? Is it even advisable for me to move the cargo? That's the pattern and the AI engine that we developed recently, and which is up and running for a retailer. So that's the kind of things people are looking at.
Wonderful. And I think, thanks, Ashok. That's a little bit of insight into what some of the technologies and how IT can also provide some solutions to the questions that is being asked in this panel. I think that's very interesting to hear that. We can go on all day, guys, because this is such an important, interesting topic. It touches the core for all of the work that we are doing. And it's very real. It's very real. We live it every day. But given the time, I just have a few more minutes to bring this to a close. But I would like to do it by a quick rapid fire round, and would like to ask each one of you, and I'm going to give you the choice of anybody can go first. I'm not going to pick a name this time. Really, what is it that you are personally looking forward to the second half, if I may, for this year, 21 and 22 and beyond, as we see the effects of pandemic, markets are coming back, bouncing back, countries are better controlling the pandemic. I want to hear from each one of you, what is the one thing that you're looking forward to as we move from here? So I could start in any order. Who would like to go first?
Okay, I will go first.
Yeah, go for it.
So sorry guys, yeah. Crystal ball time, is it, Sadiq?
Yes, so, in some extent.
So I think, two things. One, break down the walls between brick and mortar and digital, make the experience seamless. So if I'm shopping for, Nicole is a great example, shopping for Swarovski online as opposed to walking into the store, make that experience seamless for me as a customer or as a consumer. Let me not get or have a different experience. Let me have the same exciting experience that I get on any channel of yours. So that's one. And that obviously requires a lot of investment. And two, I feel CEOs will start investing in automation to reduce cost, win short-term gains in low growth markets, and all of that will happen. So I genuinely believe, and that's very nicely you said that earlier, Sadiq, is it's no longer about do you have the money? The idea is where do you want me to put the money to give me benefit? So I think these two will happen for sure. And third and last, and I'm going to sign off with this, treat the consumer as real. He's here to stay. He's going to drive your growth. He's going to drive your profits. He's the reason for your job, right? Absolutely. So drive it, treat him seriously and handle him. And he will give you more benefits that you can imagine.
Thanks, Renki. Very well said. Nicole, you'd like to go next?
Yes, so I mean, less crystal ball, but like a dream wish. So if I could have anything happening for me over the next 1 or 2 years, it's really a bigger dive into predictive analytics as for demand planning and into the shop, including the inventory management. So for me, I think this would be really a great relief if I would be able really to supply in the moment when the demand happens, and of course also use that as a changeover for the omni-channel. So yes, we are online, yes, we are there offline in the brick and mortar environment, and we're trying to create a seamless omni-channel experience, right? But at the same time, I also need the machine in the background, the logistics, the warehousing running also seamlessly and on the same data in order to provide that experience. So if I could have anything on my wish list, that would be it.
Wonderful. You will be a great business partner to have, Nicole. Anil, you'd like to go next?
Yes, thanks, Radik. From the crystal balls again, three things which majorly will drive. One would be how do you manage the culture, the digitalization culture or the customer experience culture? How do you grow internally in an organization? Two, how much can I burn down? If I'd have to take words from Renki, how much do I burn down? The third would be how agile can I become, and what are the levers where agility can be brought in without too much disruptions into the current business scenarios. But third, last but not the least, but yes, for sure, how do you empower your employees, who's your brand ambassadors, to make sure that the customer experience is delivered and not by an offline mode of it. As Renki said, it should be more real time. So how do you empower them with a real time data is something which we will be working around.
Thanks, Anil. Really reflects and great insight. Ashok?
Yeah. Yeah, from my side, yes. So this pandemic, now the business is catching up really fast. Everywhere people are out in the market, and they really wanted to feel that air of freedom. I can say that. But there is a distinct difference between Asian markets and non-Asian markets. Where Asia is full of manpower, there is surplus manpower everywhere. And the word automation really doesn't work out here because it's going to again kill the economy. So as an IT solution provider or IT product provider, we clearly demark the solutions to say that how effective can our solutions still be with having people without people, like automating things. Yes, it's nice, but how safe it can be without people with people. So that's how we are started building the products. And yes, there is a lot of endorsement and acknowledgement. And the pattern, what we see is really encouraging in the sense like the CIOs are able to decide faster. The cycle is not 3 months to 6 months anymore. It is much across the table that is happening, which is a welcome sign. And I hope it continues and all these products can prove that business can improve, and we see a better 2021.
Thanks, Ashok, for the thought. And in fact, we are just out of time. But this has been an amazing conversation, guys, because this is the key to how we are going to come out of the pandemic more successfully. And I really want to thank each one of you for your insights, sharing your learnings, your experiences. Definitely, I'm sure all of us in the panel and the audience have enjoyed listening to this conversation. And probably they have learned a couple of things in terms of what they can expect going forward from a customer expectation or experience, and really making this a competitive advantage to each one of them to win coming out of this pandemic. So once again, thank you all so much for your participation. Truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sadiq. Awesome.
Thank you to all the panelists, and the retail shift is really here to stay. And we are seeing so much happening, and we have another panel discussion, which is CX insights across industries. Santosh Nair, who will be moderating, he is the regional head of IT, end user and IT partner management, Siemens. Juliana Chua, head digital transformation, SLR. Amit Bhatia, chief information officer, Jacqua Group. Saket Sarda, Senior Vice President APAC C2FO, Saket Gore, CEO Asia Pacific at the Himalaya Drug Company Pte Limited. Santosh, over to you.
Good morning. Customer experience, or CX as it is known as, is defined by the interactions, the experiences that we as a customer have with any business, be it in our private lives or at work. And this comes from the entire journey, whether it is from, you're looking for a product or a service or a solution, all the way to actually the end use of it, right? And I want to relate to you an experience which I personally had in order to kind of start off this discussion. And the experience is about buying a car. In 2012, I moved from Singapore back to India, continued to work with Siemens, but I was moving back to India, and I was looking to buy a car. I already had an idea of what I wanted. But when I landed there and I started looking for a car, I said, okay, maybe I should also look for a couple of other brands. So of course, first I went and talked to the car showroom of the brand that I wanted, with the model that I wanted, but there was a 6-month waiting period. And I said I should look for the next best option that I had, and I found one. This time, the first car was a Japanese car, and the second one was a Continental car. And I said, I want to go for the Continental version. And then the sale went through. I mean, the beauty in India is people come to you, right? They bring the car to you for test drive. I mean, I had not experienced that in the 15, 20 years I lived in India when I started driving, in Singapore when I started driving. So that was, again, a brilliant experience. But then I figured that it is not a differentiator anymore because every other car company was doing it. Everybody would bring the car to your doorstep, you do your test drive and, complete the sale. Now, with this second car, which I loved, I was going to close the deal, took my checkbook, went to the sales office to close the deal. The sales guy was a great guy. He sold the car to me in that sense. But when I was at the office to close the deal, my experience with the sales manager threw me off completely. He had no idea of who I was. He had no idea what my preferences were. He had no idea why I chose that car over the other car, which I wanted. But at the same time, he was doing a hard sell of why I made the best decision of my life. Now, I got a little irritated, to be very honest. And what I did was, after having a dialogue with him for about 10 minutes, I took my family out, walked out of the door, went to the other brand. I bought a car which was not the model which I wanted, one model lower. I bought the car and I closed the deal the same day. Now, if you relate this to customer experience, it is truly about understanding your customer. It is about understanding what his actual needs are and really getting into the depth of it. So customer experience is all about interactions and experiences. And today, to discuss exactly that aspect of customer experience, about those touch points, about those interactions, about how you make those a memorable experience. So let's get into the panel discussion proper. First of all, we talked about customer experience, and I shared an experience with you myself, which I experienced myself. So it's all about building trust and relationship and converting that relationship into loyalty and sometimes even to advocacy, if that is possible. And that would be really the ultimate goal of customer experience. Now, Juliana, maybe I can start with you today. Can you share with us and the audience what customer experience means to you at SLR, what your focus areas are, and how does voice of a customer play out for you in your company and in your experience?
Thank you, Santosh. So I think at SLR, my focus is really on digital transformation. And in the digital world of experiences, our one and only goal, of course, is to delight our customers. So at SLR, we are very focused on B2B as well as also B2C. But B2B customers actually form the core of our business. So at the core of our business, we actually try to digitize all our B2B customer into moving in a digital journey with us. This moving of a digital journey, to many of them might not be straightforward because they have been our customer for the last 10, 20, 30 years. So they have been passed down from different generations. And we're passing down from different generations, you're trying to eventually move whatever was working before on a paper format into a digital format. This change management might be challenging as to what we can also observe in today's current world, right? As much as all the organizations are trying to move to digital, sometimes we have to take care a lot on the humans element. And it's beyond what we see on the screen. It's just their experience of learning. How is it that it's more simplified for them to learn? And certain touch points are therefore very unique to different customers. So what we do on the back end is also to understand how the different touch points are working out for our B2B customer. Where are certain buttons that are placed wrongly, certain process flow are not efficient for them to actually access their financials, are not efficient for them to actually do their, how they're going to order the marketing materials with us. So these are the different touch points that we are trying to make it simpler so that we reduce the manual work that is involved. So today, otherwise they'll be calling customer service and then they'll be saying things like, oh, I've already made this request a couple of days ago, how come it hasn't received? So I think these are the different ways that we are trying to digitalize. But in this process of digitalizing, a lot of change management internally and also externally. So there's a lot of training that we are giving to all our B2B customers. And I'm sitting at the HQ level where we are looking over 30 countries. So at every country, the behavior are quite different. There are customers who are probably in the city and they are more well-versed, they have more connection to internet these days. But once you are beyond the city, internet connection is also a problem. So we have to take care of all these concerns to actually enable, do we go only desktop or do we enable mobile? Because the ability to do mobile first also give the customer another avenue to access their materials when they do not have access to laptop, when they do not have access to wireless as well. So I think these are how we actually entrench ourselves to thinking about how do we delight our customers. So B2B was a large focus area. One of the new portfolio that I've acquired in late last year was also looking at the B2C experience side of things. So on the B2C experience side of things, how do we actually make it simpler for consumers now to understand the different products? At SLO, at any one point, we carry about 4,000 SKUs. So 4,000 SKUs is going to be a nightmare for any consumer to understand, right? Your B2B customer will be able to appreciate because they've been with you for 30 years. But your B2C consumers will find it quite a nightmare to understand which product should I buy. So if they are unable to demystify what product they are going to purchase, imagine if they walk into the shop, how would they actually even start the conversation with our B2B customer? So these are the different areas that we are looking at. There's no golden answer to it, but it's all about simplification. How do we delight our customer? And how do we make sure that the process flow is as efficient to our B2B customers as well? And how do we actually enable our B2C consumers to land on a decision much faster? So the voice of customer play out to us in a sense that we no longer today just take on the internal view. As much as possible at every touch point, we do go on to interviews with our consumers as well as our B2B customer to understand whatever that we are reimagining, does it really make sense to them? Or is it just an internal view that we are doing to fulfill our own process flow internally?
Oh, absolutely.
So sometimes I hope this helps to answer your question. And I think there's no perfect answer.
Absolutely. There is no one and singular answer for any of these experiences that you can create. And what I loved about what SLR is doing is you're looking at it from different touch points, both for a B2B, which is your primary business, but also to your end consumer as well. And that's actually beautiful to see. And also the fact that you are considering, when you talk about customer experience, you're considering topics which are not really related to your product or service, but to the environment in which your customers and consumers are working in, right? And especially when we talk about consumer. But talking about consumer, maybe, Amit, you come from an industry which is also in that space of consumer goods. Do you think you can share a word or two on that topic?
Yeah, basically, I think earlier days when we were studying, and currently also people say customer is the king. So I think customer preferences and his experience is very, very critical for any product or services to sell. As we understand the behavior of the customer, it is better for us to maybe support them through various digitization initiatives. As Juliana has said, like, yes, definitely customers are in space of B2C, B2B. I have worked for last 23 years in industry. I have worked with FMCG, I have worked with telecom. So there are a different type of customers, you see. Some are service oriented. If you are a service company, if you are a product company, and specifically in FMCG or maybe the goods, basically consumer goods industry, definitely the customer has many choices. And nowadays customers are having more knowledge about the environment, the products, right? Because thanks to the internet, thanks to many studies coming free on internet, so the awareness level of customer is very, very high. So tap such customers, we should have a concept, right? Definitely, and a digitization platform to basically store that concept. So once you have a concept, a story in mind, for example, anything which you do, any presentation you make, you first of all create a concept, right? So if we have multiple products and if we don't have a concept or a platform to show to the customer, right, the experience for the customer will be like in piecemeal, right? So we have to give him the consolidated experience through various digitization efforts. So in Jaguar, we have implemented the go to the customer, right? In the era of pandemic, right, we have orientation centers where we generally call our customers for getting the experience of the products, right? And we explain the features and why they should buy the products, right? That is a general sales pitch, right? Now, but in pandemic, since the people are not moving that much, right? So we are going to their home through e-connections, right? So through latest WebEx and Zooms, right? So we are reaching out our customers, right? That is the initiative which we have taken in B2C space. Yes, we have around 4,000 customers, say dealers, distributors, which are our primary customers, right? And we reach them out through our dealer management system. That is another digitization channel which we have opened, right? And they can see their performance. They can get the leads directly from there, right? Our sales guys are basically instrumental in all the field force, is instrumental in getting the leads. We are not selling at our the showrooms or selling points. We are passing all those leads to our dealers. So this complete ecosystem is basically managed by the IT backbone. And we have recently moved to Oracle Cloud, Oracle Fusion for customer experience through mobile and through various other gadgets. So yes, to tap customers, we have to understand their behavior, their patterns, like what they are doing, how they are doing. We have to spend a lot of time in analyzing their choices, right? And once he comes to your showroom, he should go back happily. Maybe if you are not able to convert that lead immediately at that point in sale, you have to wait for the right time. So that is the concept which we build in when we teach our sales guys, right? And when we interact with our dealers. So that's the way we move in the industry, and no doubt, like we are the market leaders right now with in India 65% share, and we are present in 65 countries. So all those sales guys are using all these digitization tools which we have collaborated and given to them. Yeah.
Thank you, Amit. I think you touched upon really one very important element, which is to understand user behavior and to be aware of what exactly your customer wants. And and you talked about pandemic. Actually, pandemic did disrupt every interaction possibility, right? Whether it is with a customer, whether it is with a supplier, and it became actually quite increasingly difficult during the pandemic time to reach out to just about anybody. Now, one of the key learnings that came out during the pandemic and across many countries is that to deliver your superior customer experience that you designed for yourself and for your customers, you need to have your entire supply chain working together with you. So your suppliers need to be part of that ecosystem, and any disruption in your supplier base or the process is going to have an impact on the customer side and eventually, of course, to their experience. So Sakit Sarda, in this case, from C2FO, I have a question for you. How do you see companies differentiating their customer experience by creating right supplier relationships? And do you see that it has an impact, number one, of course, and then how do they create these relationships? And also, how do you assure that customer experience works effectively, even when we have outsourced our services, right? I mean, a lot more services are getting outsourced. There are suppliers, partners, multi-partner and multi-supplier environments. Do you see platforms and ecosystems playing a role in supporting these kind of environments? What is the change that is happening in the play of customer experience in the industry? Can you share your views and insights on that?
Thanks, Santosh. I think I'll go back to, because it's pandemic and COVID, I'll start from a journey where, let's say, March of last year. Mm-hmm. And I think what happened was this: with all the credit freeze and the liquidity crunch, suppliers had their own issues in terms of procuring things and making something to send it up to you for you to remarket or to reprocess. The other part was this, that their BCP plans suddenly became your plans, and you had never had a thought about that. So there were two places where you had let's say, a discontinuity of sorts. Their BCP plans were not in place, and therefore that caused a problem. And their financing got stopped, which is the heart of these things. Now, what C2FO does is it's a world's largest working capital platform where it connects, I would call the center node, which could be a client or a buyer or a seller, to its customers and to its suppliers, and solves for a very niche solution, which is just taking care of the financial flows. Because what we feel is this, that once you take care of the financial flows, the rest of the other things do follow or can be rectified as far as the financial flows are very clear. So if the supplier needs cash and the anchor, because he's a bigger balance sheet, has a better relationships, can somehow get cash reached to the suppliers on time for his production to happen, that will make sure that your customer experience in terms of the car, like you said, in your experience, that you went for a car and it was not available for 6 months. So there could be many other items in COVID that were not available, and still we are suffering from certain places where chips are not being available, and hence there's a downstream effect on a lot of things not being produced in that much quantity. So once you get financing there, obviously the suppliers can do the production for you, and therefore your continuity to provide this thing. Similarly on the BCP also, if someone has to set up a new office, has to send up laptops and everything, again, your outsourced vendors would require certain capital infusion for them to then manage their BCP plan. So that's what we've experienced and seen, that it actually does have a great impact. And by connecting your customers, yourself, and your suppliers onto a single platform, we are therefore able to give an entire working capital solution to the central customer that we have. So in case of, let's say, SLR, looking at it, customers in terms of when to receive money, and to the suppliers when to send in the money, the entire cash flow can be managed and sent to the right set of suppliers. What we've also seen, Santosh, now is because of all this, what people have also started looking at is how to distinguish their set of suppliers to meet their ESG, CSR, D&I type of activities, and how you get your ecosystem to be involved with you, to be working with you, to actually meet your KPIs on these fronts. And what C2FO is also able to do is this, because we have dedicated people running your supply chain or your customer financial portal, we are able to therefore talk to the suppliers and to the customers to make sure that the entire, I would say, the providence of your ESG, or where it is coming from, where is it going, coming to you. And if you want to pass on any rebate to any supplier or any customer that, hey, because we have a better relationship or a different product, because you bought a different product, I want to give you a rebate, things like that. So all those things can be done on a platform.
It's actually quite interesting, isn't it, Saket, when we talk about customer experience and how so many factors come into actually creating that customer experience that is superior, that can delight the customer, can convert them into an advocate for you at the end of the day, isn't it? And unless we think of that entire value chain, you are never going to have a customer experience which is, at that level is an envy for others. So you need to really take care of so many elements that come along the way. It's not just about your product and the way you can sell the product to a customer. It's the entire value chain. Thank you so much for giving that insight. But maybe I also want to take that opportunity to hear from you, Saket Gore from Himalaya, on what you see, because as a CEO, you have a different perspective of the customer and the supplier relationship. How do you see this working out, and what was the impact for you during the pandemic?
Great. I'll start from the customer side and then move backwards towards the supply side. In fact, pre-pandemic, supply of goods or timely supply of goods were assured, irrespective of whether you are sourcing the goods locally or it was coming from, let's say, North America towards Asia. There were absolutely no disruptions. However, in 2020, what it taught us that irrespective of the back-end challenges, okay, when I say back-end challenges, whether the factories were working or no, the customer was not willing to accept delays or non-fulfillment. Now, all of us believe that customers should actually accept that there is a pandemic going, and hence be willing to consider that there are likely to be delays, but customer hasn't changed his or her expectations. And I personally believe that the expectation of customers, in fact, have increased. Let me give a couple of examples. Within Asia, it would typically take 7 to 10 days for shipments to actually go from one country to another. Due to the pandemic, in fact, the total timelines have gone up from 7 to 10 days to almost 15 to 21 days. It's almost added 7 to 9 days. That means 50% shipment times have increased, which actually is adding to almost 1 week additional of working capital. That's what we heard earlier from Saket Sada, that working capital needs have gone up. Let me be more specific on the customers. We have worked with doctors because we are into pharmaceutical business. We are also into FMCG, as well as we also work with animal health product, where we work with farmers. And what we notice is the FMCG industry actually understood management of inventory. They were far more digitized. Whereas when we went to doctor clinics or when we actually went to farmers, they absolutely had no idea of how to manage inventory. Or in fact, their digitalization process was on a scale of 1 to 10, somewhere between 1 to 2. A doctor obviously was more focused on treating the patient, and a farmer was more focused on getting the produce right. So what we ended up doing is actually working with them, extending our inventory management processes and our digitization processes. We extended to the doctor clinics, some hospitals, and even obviously on the farm side. So it had two benefits. One is the headache of inventory management, ensuring FIFO, first in, first out. Freshness of stock was what we took over the headache from the customer side on our heads. It also ensured that we actually got real-time data, because the moment there was a movement of goods from all the retail outlets, we started getting this information. But I personally, in fact, was surprised with the amount of manual work even today. Even today, the amount of manual work which goes into inventory management or managing basic finances. So big opportunity for the overall digitization of the industry. That's what I would say. Customers are not changing. In fact, customers are getting more demanding. Pandemic, no pandemic, customers is always right.
Thank you, Saket. And Saket, I think you kind of touched upon very interesting aspect as well. I would say on one hand, of course, working capital needs to be managed. On the other hand, how do you rethink on the processes that you are? How do you, ascertain what changes you as a principal can put in place so that you can help your customers and maybe even your suppliers at some point in time to make that difference in the entire value chain? The end result, all our focus is to make sure that our real end customer, the consumer of our product, service, goods, whatever it might be, is the most delighted one, right? And thank you so much for sharing that. Talking about digitalization, I mean, if you really look at it, Gartner predicted that by 2022, which is now almost just about a year ahead, 70% of customer interactions will involve emerging technologies or digital technologies as we know it, such as machine learning or chatbots or mobile messaging, and all this up from 15% just 2 years ago. So from 2018 to 2022, 4 years. So 22, we are looking at about multiple levels of increase in terms of digitalization in the customer interactions. So when we heard from different people on the panel, from Juliana and Saket, about how digital transformation actually plays a role, and I'm pretty sure, Saket, Gore, as you said, not just you, but all the other CEOs as well, are looking at digital as a way of enhancing customer experience. I would like to turn to you, Amit. Can you explain what impact do these digital technologies have in your company, especially? I know you touched upon it briefly earlier, but if you could elaborate a little bit more on that. And generally in the market and industry that you operate in, with focus on, of course, customer experience. There are just so many technologies out there. How do you go through that process of sifting them out, identifying what's right for you, and making sure that in the end, it actually delivers to your customer experience strategy? Could you share some insights from your side, Amit? Amit, you might need to unmute yourself.
Sorry. So thanks, Santosh. I think as I explained that digital experience is most important nowadays, because like now the customers are more younger generation guys are into online shopping, right? If you say FMCG, starting from like small FMCG commodities to maybe buying cars and other things, you go and explore digitally. Now my kid is like he's very young guy, like 14 years old, and he actually browses and says like, this is the car, Papa, which we should take, right? So I told him like, have you seen the car? Have you seen the features? Have you gone to the showroom or somewhere? No, Papa, I have seen this in mobile application, and there are all the features. I can drive that. I can take the experience. I can zoom in. I can go into the details. So this is the experience which is like young generation is actually used to now. So now every company is actually tapping all type of customers, right? So when we say in Jaguar, we have various brands, various segments of products, right? Super premium, and luxury, all. So there are set of customers who we have to target. We have to go to the market, and for using B2C channels as well as B2B channels, right? We tap them. So during this journey, like we not only we have to just tap those customers, but we have to give them lifelong experience. Jaguar gives around 10 years of warranty to all its products, right? So when you have to attach with the customer for 10 years lifetime, right? So you have to be having a very strong customer support. And we have to understand the behavior during the journey of that product as well as that customer. So that is the targets which we take. So starting from a lead generation by a salesman in market to fulfillment of those items, as Saket has mentioned, that we have to, the customer expect that it should, whenever he paid for that services or product, it should reach him within no time. Expectation is within that same day, right? So for that, like logistics is very important chain, starting from lead generation, lead nurturing, then conversion to the orders, then orders have to be fulfilled. That is very important aspect. So the complete supply chain has to be in tandem. Like we have recently implemented automatic storage and retrieval using AI, right? So based on the demand forecast and basically the orders which are with us from the dealers, right? This actually the retrieval system of warehouse management pulls out the inventory, stores the items which are fragile at a various levels, where like a supply chain can immediately supply to our dealers, right? According to the orders which are placed. So it basically reduces the time to dispatch goods, right? And on daily basis, you see around 10 crores of inventory is moving on daily basis. So this is the minimum inventory which we foresee that we have to manage on daily basis. And when we say inventory, it is for productions, for parts, as well as the finished goods. So the same, the robotic warehouse management system using AI is used for part management as well as finished goods management. So that is the supply chain support which gives to our, which we power to our dealers. And we have also gone beyond that, right? Support that we have extended our systems, warehouse management systems and dealer management systems to our dealers, who are big dealers. They have a problem of storage. As Saket also mentioned that, okay, doctors and farmers don't invest in these type of technologies. They just concentrate on their services. But when we are dealing with 4,000 dealers, we have to understand what are they lacking, because they are very critical part in our value chain when you reach to the customer. So reaching to the goods reaching to the customer, and then the services reaching to the customer, that is very important aspect which we take care. So we have recently moved to Oracle Cloud. So in Fusion Cloud, and we have used their CX Cloud platform, where like the mobile applications are inbuilt. The catalogs can be seen by all the customers. The leads can be generated directly from the mobile application, and the nurturing part of leads has to be done by the other tool, which is Aliqua Maximizer. So with these two basically tools, these are more technical tools, so I will not go into the details of technical details. But then what they do is they actually understand the behavior on from which devices customer is looking at our websites or products, right? If he is an Apple customer, definitely is a premium customer. Maybe that's an assumption, right? And there are now high-end Android phone also. So based on the models of the phone which are used by the customer, we actually trace him for premium or luxury or maybe masses product, right? So that artificial intelligence is built in, right? So so that is just to generate the lead. Now, if we have to upgrade or cross-sell to the, for our products, definitely this pattern is helpful. Similarly, like after you do a lead, you have to nurture it, right? So the campaigns which are automatically populated, right, based on the behavior of the customer, the devices he is using, or the response he is showing. Maybe he is coming to our website again and again and seeing a particular product, right, or a particular segment, right? So we give him various options through mailing campaigns, right? So that, okay, he should be having a lot of choices to select. A lot of dealers around him can support him, And moreover, like same leads are sent to our sales guys. Sales guys also start tapping them, right, based on that analytics. Okay, that based on the behavior. So, and as I told in my earlier discussion, that okay, we have to create the concept. So we sell them the concept. If he is seeing a shower enclosure, we have to sell him the complete component of those shower enclosure, right? The complete bathroom fittings, right? And, associated with that shower enclosure. So we don't tap him for shower enclosure. So we create a concept for him. That is the way, like, so we amplify the sale there. So these are the tools which are used. Aliqua is there, Maximizer is there, which we are using from Oracle Stable. And then DMS, even though it is a in-house created product, but now since last 35 years, we are the market leaders and we are supporting our dealers, right, using that tool. Basically the dealers can see their performance, what is their capital with what they have invested, how quickly their stocks are moving, what are the sales and revenue what they are generating using Jaguar products, right? So these all analytics, when you say AI engines are there inbuilt and reports are generated, and based on that they are given the points and ratings, and those can also be redeemed vis-a-vis buying a product free of cost as per the schemes, or maybe a cash incentive. So these are various how we are tapping up with our customer. Now the second part I told about the supply chain backend. Third is the customer support. So now this 360 degree, now our customers can go onto our portal and generate a warranty certificate. So that complete process is automated for them. Now, on a click of a button, they just have to put their bill or the artifacts that they have bought it from some dealer. Immediately, there is a digitized warranty certificate mailed to him immediately. So without any hassles of maybe going to the dealer back and then getting a card, a warranty card. And based on that warranty card, he can generate a ticket, a service ticket, and service engineer will come to his house. With that digital certificate will be enough for free of cost service. So that experience, you can understand that what is the experience level which a customer feels, and that is the level which we look at, and then we want to improve that, improving that bar on a daily basis. So those are the tools which we have invested in, and we are looking into more aggressive ventures with our partners, right? Seeing towards our suppliers, we have integrated our ERP systems and extended them to our suppliers, so that, for example, our OEMs, right, so that they can use those facilities of what are their orders, how they will be supplying the products to us, right? And based on that, we can back-to-back commit to our supply chain for the finished goods. So this complete ecosystem is actually maintained by all digital tools. So that's how we are moving in for Jaguar.
Maybe we have another panelist here who is quite well into the digital transformation activities and with focus on customer experience. Juliana, can you shed some light on that topic and share with us what SLR does in terms of digital and the entrenchment of these kind of digital technologies in your customer experience journey?
Yeah, so I think in the journey of creating the customer experience, we look into creating two ecosystems, one on the B2C and one on the B2B. Of course, B2B is our most important customer. And for this ecosystem, what we do is to digitize the way that they order. So they don't have to actually put on their ordering on paper to us and take a photo or WhatsApp it to us. They can actually go to the online portal to do their ordering themselves. And when they do the ordering, of course, it goes straight to our lab for manufacturing, which means you actually remove you actually improve the efficiency that you don't have to call a customer service to actually talk to someone to get your order in. Then, so that we also digitize the customer service as well. So once you go onto the portal, you can actually chat our CS to actually ask any questions via chat. Many of times we have also learned from the behavior of today's B2B customer that with today's technology, sometimes they feel that waiting by a phone call is very inefficient for them, right? To press a button, to actually call someone. Why can't I chat? And then I wait for the CS to respond to me while they actually check on the backend. So we also digitize the customer service. And thereafter, doing the ordering, digitizing the customer service, we also look into the notification of the delivery. So when the delivery is going to be out to you, like your e-commerce, you actually get notification on your mobile phone, on your email, if you wish to activate both as well, to get a notification on when is this order coming to you and when are you expecting to receive it. In the B2B space, that's actually quite important because they then actually notify the B2C consumers when to pick up the orders that they made. Then after the consumers actually get the goods, the B2B customer can also check to the portal to understand their financials, to what's the statement of account, what's the invoices, what is the outstanding balance, and also to make payment via online as well. Then the last step is really to, if they hit their sales incentive, will they get actually unlock a goal to actually be incentivized for hitting the sales as well. So that's the B2B ecosystem that we are creating to ensure that we actually digitize every step of our B2B customer. And with digitizing of it, of course, the change management comes in. But the change management comes in and is easier to do when the ease of use is high, the perceived value with the B2B customer is also good and high, and also the hook that we create, right? The hook that we create is actually to simplify the entire process for them to reach out to us easily, as to waiting for a salesperson to visit them once in a while. So I think that's how we actually created the entire hook and the perceived value to our B2B customers.
Thank you, Juliana. Thank you, Amit. I think what both of you shared is that it's not just about the technology in itself, but about how you deploy these technologies by understanding your customer value chain and then using it to the optimal possible so that the experience is actually enhanced, and how data insights and end-to-end digitization actually makes a big difference in terms of enhancing this customer experience. Thank you for sharing that. So far we have really talked about various aspects of digital, about handling working capital, talking about customers' voice, supplier and their role in this whole process, the business continuity aspects, etc. When we talk about all of this, if it is done right, customer experience is a big differentiator and a competitive advantage. But to get that right, there are quite a few focus areas, and we kind of alluded to a fair bit of them in our conversation. Nevertheless, maybe Sakit Gore in this case for Himalaya, what are some of your focus areas and where are you in your customer experience journey? And more importantly, I would like to hear from you how you make sure that employees in the company and what role do they play in customer experience or enhancing customer experience? Could you shed some light on that?
Sure. So I'll just want to start that this whole push toward digitalization, it's more from the consumer side, which is happening, is actually shifting consumer behavior, especially the way consumer shops and consumer buys. I'm saying consumer shops separately and consumer buys separately. And let me elaborate. Earlier, when we used to buy goods, you would buy, let's say, for a month. Typically, you would buy your groceries as well as you would plan 30 days in advance. Or 2 to 3 years back, when e-commerce was just making inroads, your shipment would arrive to you after 7 to 10 days, and it was acceptable. But what is happening is, let's say in Singapore, we have services now where you can order a Coke of can or a packet of chips, and it gets delivered to you in 20 minutes. So just imagine that you're sitting in front of your television and you feel like having a Coke of can and it gets delivered in 20 minutes. That actually is shifting customer expectation. It's shifting customer expectation where the consumer is expecting the same service even when they buy a toothpaste or when they buy shampoo or even clothing. So that actually is shifting their expectation that, yes, you are feeling thirsty, so you're buying a Coke of can, but you could very well wait for 3 to 4 days to get your shampoo or a toothpaste or your t-shirt delivered, but customer expectation is same for a Coke of can versus buying other groceries. This we're noticing a lot through especially Gen Z or the very young consumers. I think Amit was mentioning that this particular consumer is very, or doesn't have patience. And I'm not saying in a negative way, that is how the customer expectation is. They don't have patience. So obviously they expect it, then expect it. And we sometimes lightly say that, okay, they go to the shower and they realize their shampoo is finished, immediately ask for a shampoo and it should be delivered to them before their bath finishes. That is what customer expectation is. And if that is a customer expectation, obviously organizations need to get ready. And this is where we actually talk to our employees that this is what the consumer is changing in their behavior. Now, a typical organization hierarchy used to be pyramid structure, where you have a lot of junior employees at the base, and the senior management is the one who take decision. But this particular consumer expectation change is actually making us shift our decision-making process. What we have done is, on a day-to-day basis, all the tactical decisions are actually left with the front-end employees. For example, if there is a comment from a consumer or a question from a consumer on Instagram, it can't wait for somebody at the head office to answer. So the brand manager or the sales person has to answer the question then and there. So we don't let them come back and check with what the answer should be. What we have enabled as well as empowered them is to take a decision. And I repeat, quote unquote, take a decision. And then actually the manager checks and says, okay, this is the question which a consumer had and this is how you responded. This is how things went right. This is what things could have been done differently. So empowering the consumers to take a decision, empowering the employees to take a decision and addressing the consumer need real time actually is become the most important aspect in this journey. And I would say this is something which I haven't learned in my 25 years of career, but this is what is going to happen more and more. And I'll quote an example. I quote an example with a co-CEO. He apparently checked into a good hotel, a fancy hotel, not now, but pre-pandemic. And he realized that one of the button of his jacket had come loose. And he happened to just go to the when he was checking in, he just mentioned this to people who were checking him that, I happened to lose the button of my jacket. And he was in one city and he said, can it be managed? I would say 99 out of 100 times they would say, sorry, sir, we don't have this service here, right? Because you can't find the same button. But what he shared is that he checked in roughly around 7 p.m. in the evening. That front office and manager actually called up the brand, and it was, let's say in Mumbai, I'm taking an example. He checked in Mumbai. They realized that that particular jacket and that particular button was not available in the showroom in Mumbai. They got in touch with the Delhi outlet. That particular button was flown in midnight from Delhi. It landed in Mumbai. The hotel actually ensured that his button was made available by 6 o'clock. They stitched it on his jacket, and by 8:30 p.m., the jacket was ready. Now, it's got nothing to do with the stay. It's got nothing to do with the comfort. It's got nothing to do with the luxury brand. This is customer service. Now, this is what I'm sure this particular co-CEO of mine is going to start expecting as a customer service every time he checks into a luxury hotel. Now, this is where customers' expectations are increasing. This is where experiences. So the traditional way of decision taking, because a general manager of the hotel would have obviously said, sorry, we don't have this particular brand of jackets we don't sell yet because we're not in the business of selling a jacket. But that is customer experience. So walk into your bathroom, you see a shampoo not available, just call for it, and within 15 minutes, it will get delivered to your bathroom literally. So that is what is customer experience for future. And let's get ready for it. And without empowering our employees, that won't happen. So take a decision. That is what I tell my team. Take a decision. Doesn't matter if the customer is slightly demanding. Let's make customer happy. That's, I would say, has to be the mantra as we go ahead.
Absolutely, Saket. I think you brought in such a very valuable aspect of empowering the front end, right? I mean, empowering employees. really makes or breaks customer experience. And that example that you shared about specifically your co-CEO and his hotel experience. I think he's sold for life now, right? He's going to check in into that hotel or that brand of hotel wherever he goes, whether it is for his work now or for his pleasure trips, right? He's going to be a big fan of that hotel chain. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, maybe I'll turn my attention actually to you, Saket Sharda. How do you see this from your business, from your perspectives? Because yours is a very different kind of business that you are in. But how do you see employees playing a role in that customer journey? Do you see an impact of the different generations of customers that you see, etc.? Could you share some insights from your perspective?
Thanks. So I like what Saket Gore said about basically this is the new way of empowering the whole value chain, whether it's your customers in one sense and even your employees. I think I'll just bring in the part of how about organizations who start thinking and empowering their suppliers. Now, when you look at any traditional supply chain, you always land up deciding for the supplier, right? I will decide which bank will provide supply chain finance. I will decide what commercials. I will decide which invoices you can take at what terms. What C2FO has done is that with the technology, we have moved the empowerment to the supplier. He dynamically decides which invoice he wants financing. He decides he doesn't want to be locked up with any bank that has been introduced by the supplier, but his own bank, or by the buyer by his own bank. And he also decides his own commercials that he wants the discounting at for an early payment. And the platform is therefore able to look at all the other sources of that demand and manage the financing for that supplier. So that's how it works, this thing. And basically your empowerment team, whether it's a customer, the customer is also a supplier. A customer is also a consumer, right? And therefore all of them are now moving in that direction where they are looking at, hey, I want to make my own choices. I want to decide on my own. I'm the best, I'm aware, and I can make my own decisions. And therefore empowerment has to be taken across to our suppliers also. And that's what the platform does, is enable the suppliers to feel empowered to be part of your supply chain and look at their liquidity in the way they want to manage it, at absolutely free of cost from at least from a subscription perspective or any availability optionality perspective. But obviously, if he wants something to be paid early, there's a cost of financing for that.
Thank you, Saket. I think when I look at the entire conversation that we had, and when we started off with just a word called customer experience, and how we transfers through the entire value chain of the customer experience, right from the buy to the support and experiencing the support and the product and the service that we have, and how digital plays a very anchoring role, especially in the light of the changes and the acceleration of the expectations that have happened over the last year and a half through the pandemic, etc., on how digital has played a real key role in enabling and driving customer experience through, whether it is through digitizing, whether it is through automating processes, whether it is through providing data insights, whether it is through enabling ecosystems, as platforms, enabling ecosystems. But in all of that, digital play, at the end of it, change management, people, whether they are customers, consumers, suppliers, employees, managers, leaders, whoever they are, all of us need to go through a change process, a change approach, a different mindset in dealing with the upcoming expectations and the changes that we are experiencing in this space of customer experience, and what customers see as their value in being your customer, and this has been very, very insightful discussion, and to hear from the various industries and that you are in. Thank you very much, Amit, Saket Gore, Saket Sada, and Juliana Chua for joining me in sharing your experiences and your story about what customer experience means and what we should focus on to make a difference for the future. Thank you very much. Have a good day and see you around.
We now bring you the Catalyst Awards 2021. For the first time in Asia, the Catalyst Awards are all set to recognize and honor the trailblazers in the industry for project management, HR, sales, finance, marketing, and technology, who have been uplifting the brand and reputation of the respective organizations in these difficult times. Also recognizing companies showcasing various cutting-edge initiatives, platforms, and market penetration, and truly acting as catalysts in the ever-changing market landscape. Congratulations to all the winners of Catalyst Awards 2021. We thank each and everyone in the audience for your time to be here at the Future IIT Summit Asia 2021. I hope that the speakers and the panelists have brought in the conversations with inspiring stories for you all. We thank all our speakers and panelists for an amazing, riveting sessions and enriching our entire event. We thank all our partners, C2FO, Technoplus, SealNet, Global E-Trade Services, Seaburger, IntelliZest, and PSA International. Thank you very much. Stay tuned for events and news ahead, and we will be bringing you so many new things. Thank you very much, and goodbye.